Get rid of your timeshare once and for all. Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-366-6161. That's 800-366-6161. 800-366-6161.
Simmering tensions between two Southeast Asian neighbors have flared again.
Thailand has launched airstrikes along the disputed border with Cambodia as both sides accuse the other of breaking a ceasefire that halted fighting earlier this year. The Thai army says more than 50,000 people have left areas near the border for shelters, while Cambodia's information minister says residents of several villages near the border have been evacuated. The latest round of clashes have killed at least one Thai soldier and 4 Cambodian civilians. Officials say long-standing border disputes erupted into 5 days of combat in July that killed dozens of soldiers and civilians. President Donald Trump pushed the Southeast Asian neighbours to sign a truce agreement in October, but tensions have continued to simmer. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Benin's president has condemned an attempted coup that was foiled by the army. The president referring to the attempted government overthrow as a senseless adventure. Townhall.com. It's controversy north of the border.
Police in Edmonton, Canada have started a pilot project using AI-equipped body cameras to detect faces on a high-risk watch list. Now, the move by Axon Enterprise has raised some ethical concerns, especially since the company previously paused facial recognition due to privacy issues. The pilot aims to enhance officer and public safety by identifying individuals flagged for a history of serious offenses. Jason Walker reporting.
President Trump says a deal struck by Netflix last week to buy Warner Brothers Discovery could be a problem because of the size of the combined market share. The president says he will be involved in the decision about whether federal regulators should approve the deal. $72 billion deal would bring together two of the biggest players in TV and film. More on these stories at townhall.com.
It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Good morning to the John Fredericks Media Network. We are indeed broadcasting live from our studios in Nashville, Tennessee. It's time for the Morning Rundown, which is brought to you every weekday at this time by our friends at the Glock Store, glockstore.com, located just a few miles from the airport, right here in Nashville, Tennessee. So here we go. Here is the Morning Rundown for Monday, December 8th, 2025. Number one, the affordability meme, continuously pushed by the Democrats. It was pushed like crazy over all the weekend talk shows, ABC, CBS, NBC. But who created the problem? Tom Zalistowski with the We the People convention will join us in the third hour to talk about that. Number two, the Somali fraud scandal is exploding. And all sorts of folks, Scott Bessent, Dr. Oz at HHS, they're going to take a look at it, and Department of Justice is, and they should. Number three, the education failure in the country on how the basics are not being taught, now being acknowledged by the left. I've got a purple-haired teacher down in Texas who really, kind of a leftist, but is just saying kids can't read and write. We got to fix that. We just see that in our next segment. Number four, the Ukrainian peace deal with Russia is bumbling, mumbling, and stumbling. I don't know. Donald Trump Jr. said his dad might walk away from it. Number five, redistricting fight now going on in Indiana. That's going to happen this week. Tomorrow, we'll be joined by the one, the only John Fredericks, who's got his bus in Indianapolis today. Number six, at the bottom of this hour, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Is there a deal pending? Tom Pappert says maybe. We'll talk to him at the bottom of this hour. Number seven, there's a deal brewing. Netflix is trying to buy Warner Brothers for $72 billion. Trump says, we might need to regulate that. And now Skydance Paramount, the Ellison family media outlet, is mounting a hostile bid. Number eight, Marjorie Taylor Greene. The publicity shy Marjorie Taylor Greene. was on 60 Minutes last night and had a little back and forth with Leslie Stahl about toxicity. We'll have that as well. And finally, number 9, wait for it, it's Monday. That means in hour 2, the one, the only Mark Pulliam, all-star panelist, retired attorney, author of Misrule of Law, will be here to talk about the latest in the judicial insurrection, blue state, blue city insurrection, ongoing lawfare and resistance. So there you go. That's the morning rundown for Monday, December 8th, 2025, brought to you by our friends at the Glock Store. It's time to talk about my good friend, Lenny McGill, the founder and CEO, and the world-famous Glock Store. I hope you got the chance to take advantage of the great Black Friday prices last month. But if you didn't, don't worry. The Christmas sales are right around the corner, and they will be phenomenal. Huge, some might say. And, of course, I'll let you know as soon as they start. But if you're looking for an excuse to visit Glockstore.com this very minute, I've got one for you. As you know, Lenny McGill is not only known as that Glock guy, he's also known as the Glock giveaway guy. And for December, they've doubled down. Go to Glockstore.com and buy a tactical Christmas tree sticker or patch, or a red dot reindeer sticker or patch, and you're automatically entered to win either a G45 or G47, both nicely equipped, including with Vortex optics. Or go to Glockstore.com/VTGG. That's Glockstore.com/VTGG for the Vortex 2-gun giveaway, and get the complete details, including the no purchase entry instructions. That's my good friend Lenny McGill, and this month's Vortex 2 Glock giveaway sweepstakes only at Glockstore.com. So there you go. All right, Somali fraud. Oh my goodness. I think I'm going to actually add to this early clip here. We'll start with Ilhan Omar, but there's also a Gad Sad clip that we'll want to play. But we'll go from Omar to Gad Sad. Here, let's start off with Ilhan Omar, clip 4.
I want to ask you about something else that the architect of the president's immigration policy, Stephen Miller, said. On Thanksgiving Day, he posted, "No magic transformation occurs when failed states cross borders. At scale, migrants and their descendants recreate the conditions and terrors of their broken homelands." What do you make of this argument of failure to assimilate and sort of ruining America? How do you understand this?
I mean, when I think about Stephen Miller and his white supremacist rhetoric, it reminds me of the way the Nazis described Jewish people.
Okay, ridiculous. Look, Somalis are not assimilating. They're trying to, quote, take over America. Professor Gad Sad has a very good analysis of this. Let's play this right now. Here's Gad Sad.
Hi, everybody. This is Gad Sad. It's Saturday evening. I was not planning on doing a clip this late into the night, but the defense of truth shall never rest. So some of you have been sharing clips of Somali men either saying or doing all sorts of outrageous things. So there's one clip that's going around where a Somali guy is standing on top of the Hollywood stars passageway, and he's standing over the one of Donald Trump, and he's literally urinating on it. Now, you don't see Vietnamese immigrants or Haitian immigrants or Japanese immigrants or Armenian immigrants doing that. Why is that? Right? There are endless immigrants that come to the United States, and yet they don't seem to engage in these types of behaviors. You're now seeing Somali guys saying, we're sorry that Donald Trump won't be alive when we have taken over the United States. You don't hear Vietnamese people saying that. You don't hear Armenians saying that. Why is that? Cultures have certain internalized codes. I've said this over and over again. Somali society is driven by a very strict code of us versus them. You are Somali first. That's why a lot of people say, even if they're now in the United States, their first allegiance is to Somalia. Ilhan Omar has said it, right? So, first, I am Somali. I'm also first Muslim, right? So I don't pledge allegiance to the United States because my coalitional calculus does not permit me to do that. So if you allow hundreds of thousands of people to come into a society that was founded on the principle that, of course, we welcome immigrants, but all of your identity markers are superseded by your loyalty to the unifying flag of the United States. That is simply not true of most Somalis. By the way, they'll say it, right? You can see them in endless clips where they say, no, I'm a Somali. I first care about Somalia, and so on and so forth. So let me read you a quote from page 208 of my 2011 book, The Consuming Instinct. I truly wish that more people would rediscover this book, because it's a book that not only applies evolutionary psychology to understand our consumatory nature, but it really demonstrates the power of evolutionary theory in explaining all sorts of important human phenomena. So on page 208, where I'm talking at that point about tribalism and coalitional psychology, I cite a book called The Hajj.
Okay, he couldn't get to the point on it. The Hajj, basically by Leon Uris, talks about the tribalism of Somalis and the hatred of the West. The closing thought is, how suicidally stupid and weak are Democrats around the country when they allow this invasion of people who don't want to assimilate with us. That's pretty stupid. We got to stop it. Back with more after this. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy.
Now more than ever, it's imperative to support companies that share our conservative values. That's why I can't be more excited to tell you that I've switched my family to Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you shift your support away from the leftist, woke, progressive agendas of Big Mobile. Patriot Mobile's wireless service works perfectly and seamlessly as you go about your lives with exceptional nationwide coverage that uses the same towers the main carriers use. Patriot Mobile donates a portion of every dollar earned to causes you care about, to organizations that fight for religious freedom, First and Second Amendments, sanctity of life, and the needs of veterans and first responders. Patriot Mobile has plans to fit any budget, along with great discounts for our veterans and first responder heroes, as well as multi-line users. Switching is easy. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Godzilla or call their U.S.-based customer service team, 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-728-7468. Use offer code Godzilla for free activation.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that they're making it through. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to our listeners. Get the Children's Bible Story Pillow 5-pack for $29.98. My Slippers with a free bottle of leather protectant spray for $39.98. Blankets, comforters, and duvets for as low as $25. And a blowout sale on the standard MyPillows for just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-854-0504 and use promo code Godzilla to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.99, Kings only $1 more. We know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they are extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026.
My Patriot Supply, America's most trusted survival food company, wishes you and yours a very Merry Christmas. As our gift to you, we've got an amazing deal on survival food kits. Buy one, gift two. That's right, for a limited time, when you grab our best-selling 4-week emergency food kit, we'll include 2 one-week kits free to hand out as gifts. That's 4 weeks of emergency food for you, and 2 ready to give gifts for anyone on your list who's into preparedness, or anyone who needs a nudge in that direction. But they're only available for a limited time. Grab yours at mypatriotsupply.com and give the gift of food security this Christmas. With 2,000 calories per day, 16 delicious meal and snack varieties, and up to 25-year shelf life, it's no wonder our 4-week food kit is the best-selling emergency food supply of all time. But the buy one, give two Christmas special won't last long. So claim yours now at mypatriotsupply.com. That's mypatriotsupply.com.
I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of Glockstore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported the Second Amendment rights of free men and women to protect themselves and their families with firearms. We offer the very best in both selection and prices on Glock handguns, custom Glocks, Glock magazines, and high-performance shooting accessories at Glockstore.com. We also have the finest retail showroom and our Shoot 270 shoot rooms right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Come visit us at Glockstore.com, and you'll be glad you did.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Good morning, and welcome to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from our studios in Nashville, Tennessee. We have a terrific program for you today. If you'd like to weigh in, our phone number, you might want to write this down, 615-814-2848, 615-814-2848. Now, if you want to call, you just need to say three things. Number one, your name. Number two, the state in which you reside. And number three, your topic. Now, your odds of getting on are better if you just say those three things and if the topic is related to the topic we're discussing at the time. 615-814-2848, 615-814-2848. You can watch us on X Live. Just go to Michael P. Leahy, my X account. And you can also watch us on, YouTube, Roku TV, Fire Stick, and Apple TV. So there we are, live and in living color. Now, I want to talk a little bit about general themes of this program. And right now, we're going to be hitting on 4 general themes. They're all interrelated. Number one, the failure of our education system, K-12 and college, in the ability to have independently thinking, critically thinking young people in America who can read, write, and do arithmetic. Number two, the failure of assimilation of the past several decades. I'm talking about a couple problems there. Our foreign-born population now is, 17% of the U.S.? It's at an all-time high. And unlike the early 20th century, late 19th century, where the immigrants came from countries that embrace Western values, today immigrants are coming from countries that hate Western values, like, Somalia. Number three, I'm going to talk about the judicial blue state, blue city insurrection against the rule of law. You see it all over the place. And then number four, broadly speaking, I'm going to talk about memes and the communication of the deep state and the regime media and the Democratic Party. The most recent evidence that we've seen of that, actually, has to do with affordability. Remember, affordability. Every time you turn around, some leftist regime media outlet is talking about affordability. Well, it's down. Prices are down under Trump, but you wouldn't know that compared to Biden if you listen to the regime machine. So those are 4 of the main areas we want to talk about. I want to go right now. This is something. You got to watch this clip. I found it. A friend of mine sent it to me. It's on YouTube. A lot of stuff. Younger people, get their information from YouTube. This is a short clip. Oh yeah, TikTok. I'm sorry. It's TikTok. This shows you the age problem here, right? Yes, TikTok. I went on, I set up an account on TikTok over the weekend. What experience that was. An old guy on TikTok. But I'm doing it for my audience because I'm trying to understand how young people think and obtain information. It's largely on TikTok, which revolves around a variety of assertions without any supporting evidence, usually. But, if you want to have an influence here, you got to understand the environment. And this thing, so we've got this clip, a friend of mine sent it to me, who knows of my interest in the problems with education. What have I said? I've said right now, our K-12 public education system is a debacle because kids can't read, write, do arithmetic. And there is a methodology called direct instruction that can solve that. But the teachers' unions hate it because it requires changes and extra work on their part, and they just hate it. But that's what we really need is direct instruction. So every kid by 5th grade can read and write and do arithmetic at a very high level. I'm telling you, if you do direct instruction, it'll work. More on that later. However, evidence of the problem. Now, what I like about this is on TikTok. It is a purple-haired, younger teacher who's teaching middle school in a southern state. And this person, I'm pretty sure, majored in gender studies. Nothing says preparation for teaching history. The major was history, I think. Minor was gender studies. Nothing says preparation for teaching kids about American history like minoring in gender studies, right? Oh, so here she is. She's all, in her purple hair glory. She's quite glib, quite intelligent. Listen to her. And she teaches middle school in a public school in a southern state, in a blue city in a southern state. I get that. That's all the identifying information I can give you right now. But you got to watch this. Here we go. I think she calls herself Hey Miss. Hey Miss. Talking about the problems of education right now in K-12 public schools. Here we go.
Sometimes these kids, I don't understand how they ended up to this point. You know what I mean? Like, I teach 8th grade history, and I have 110-ish students. 2 of them are reading on grade level right now. 18 of them are at a kindergarten level. 55 of those students are between a 2nd and 4th grade level. That's a lot of them. And that's typical of what I've seen lately from students. But it's not just literacy. It's not just literacy, and it's not just like lack of content knowledge. It's not just critical thinking skills. It's basic thinking skills. My students can decode almost nothing. They cannot apply inference. They cannot process questions that are longer than a sentence. They cannot connect cause and effect. They can't track multi-step ideas like in a political cartoon. And it's scaring me a little. Like, I see it every single day. I had a kid yesterday, 4 kids actually. This happened in every class. We were doing guided notes, supposed to be a real easy day. It was review. They wrote down Maryland was founded as a safe haven for Catholics. It was on the board. They wrote it down. And before we moved on, I call on a student and I ask, hey, where were the Catholics one more time? And these students, what they do is they look at me, and then they look at their notes, and then they look at the board. They look back at their notes. And some of them never answered me. They never figured out the answer. It was wild. And I kept giving them hints, like rephrasing the question and saying, like, it's in your notes. We just wrote it down. We just wrote it down. Where are the Catholics? It's on the board. And they never got it. They can't read their own notes. And I don't mean their handwriting. I mean, like, they can't make heads or tails of it on the page. I had a kid today. I have these extra credit assignments, 3 of them. They're on the wall. They could turn it in at any time. And I think they're pretty easy. Like this one, and it replaces your lowest daily grade. So like end of the quarter, lots of these start to roll in. This one says, on a separate sheet of paper, choose 4 principles of the Constitution, and for each one, write what it means in your own words, an example of how it works in the U.S. government today, and a personal example, how that principle might show up in your own life, school, or community. I wrote them an example, and I labeled it, do not use the example, and I even gave them a checklist at the bottom. Make sure you have these 4 things so you can get full credit before you turn it in. Make sure you have the 4 principles and the meaning and the examples. Make sure it's 1 full page. And this student just turned it in, and I read it. First of all, they don't write it on a separate sheet of paper. I've only had 1 kid this year do that. They just write like in the spaces of the instruction, like in the margins and stuff. Very bizarre. But like they just don't do the assignment. It's like they don't understand because it's not written in like a multiple choice format. This is exactly what this student wrote. They wrote the principle's definition in the student's own words. They rewrote the instructions. The whole thing. Even the example where it says, do not use this example, they just copied the instructions and wrote them again. And then checked off the checklist, even though, like, you didn't do it. And this student, just like the students yesterday, I don't think they're fooling with me. This is a student who's doing extra credit on their time off. They genuinely want to bring their grade up. I know them. But, like, is that what you think that the extra credit assignment was? You sat there and thought, like, yeah, she wants me to copy down the directions and then turn it in. But no, they didn't think that because they didn't think anything. These kids have a frightening ability for information to go from their eyes to their hands and not pass through the brain.
Okay, so the purple-haired lady teacher is starting to get it. The problem is, if they can't learn to read, write, and do arithmetic by 5th grade, they can't do anything by 8th grade. We'll be back with Tom Pappert after this.
Now more than ever, it's imperative to support companies that share our conservative values. That's why I can't be more excited to tell you that I've switched my family to Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you shift your support away from the leftist, woke, progressive agendas of Big Mobile. Patriot Mobile's wireless service works perfectly and seamlessly as you go about your lives with exceptional nationwide coverage that uses the same towers the main carriers use. Patriot Mobile donates a portion of every dollar earned to causes you care about, to organizations that fight for religious freedom, First and Second Amendments, sanctity of life, and the needs of veterans and first responders. Patriot Mobile has plans to fit any budget, along with great discounts for our veterans and first responder heroes, as well as multi-line users. Switching is easy. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Godzilla or call their U.S.-based customer service team, 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-728-7468. Use offer code Godzilla for free activation.
The math is simple. Every dollar we waste on unnecessary federal supervision is a dollar we can't use to fight violent crime. The Safer Supervision Act cuts bureaucratic waste and frees up law enforcement resources to protect families from serious threats. Law enforcement officers across the country and Republicans in Congress agree this is a smarter way to improve public safety. Stop the waste, protect our communities, fix federal supervision. Visit safersupervision.com to help. Paid for by the Reform Action Fund.
Cold weather is here, and it's only getting colder. When you want instant whole room warmth, you go with Eden Pure, a trusted name for years on my show. Now they've done it again with the Eden Pure Gen 40 Plus infrared heater. This powerful compact unit gives you fast, even heat you can feel in seconds. Infrared heat warms you directly, not just the air around you, and it doesn't dry out the air. It's quiet, compact, and safe with multiple built-in safety shutoffs, and it heats up to 1,000 square feet. Perfect for the living room, bedroom, or office. And right now, Eden Pure is thanking our listeners. The Gen 40 Plus normally sells for $224, but Eden Pure is giving our VIP listeners an additional $50 off. bringing it to just $174. That's right, only $174 for state-of-the-art infrared heater. Now, this is a limited time offer with a strict limit of 3, and supplies are moving fast. So go to EdenPureDeals.com, use promo code Godzilla50. EdenPureDeals.com, promo code Godzilla50.
Is your pet ready for some pawsome fun? At Creekside Pet Hotel in Kennesaw, every day is a tail-wagging adventure. Whether they're romping with friends in day camp, enjoying a staycation in our cozy boarding, or getting pampered in our luxury spa, we make sure every furry guest gets the royal treatment. Happy pets, wagging tails, and the best care. What more could they ask for? Book your pet's perfect getaway today at CreeksidePetHotel.com or give us a call at 770-422-4700.
My fellow Americans, I have to tell you about my good friends at D.T. McCall & Sons. They have furniture and appliances and a lot more. They've been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years, and they're not going to rip you off. No hidden charges, no delivery charges, no charges for all of the crazy things. These are sick people at the lumber yards. These are very sick people. They charge you for cords and hoses and haul off. They charge you for all of these things. They call them hidden charges. It's the type of surprise that you don't want to see. It's like an October surprise, but it's worse. D.T. McCall & Sons, they're not going to do that. They're great people. They're going to give you a great deal. With locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, D.T. McCall & Sons will give you the deal of your life. Check them out today or go to dtmccalls.com.
Impersonator not endorsed by Donald Trump.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
We are joined on our Zoom Newsmaker line right now by our lead political reporter at the Tennessee Star and the Star News Network and Dow Prize winner for the best local journalist in the country, along with yours truly and our executive editor, Christina Botteri, the one, the only Tom Pappert. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Michael.
Well, a little birdie has been telling you stuff. Well, I'm not sure a little birdie. It says you've found some information. You are analyzing some information, which suggests, is there possibly a deal pending in the Kilmar Abrigo Garcia case? Is there possibly a plea deal? What are the smoke signals that you've been reading, Tom?
Well, Michael, it's very interesting. I do want to say that I'm hedging my bets this morning. There's a real chance that this is something mundane, but here is the lay of the land. On December 3rd, last week, there was a sealed proposed order. No, it was a sealed actual order, by Judge Waverly Crenshaw. That's the Obama appointee overseeing Kilmar Abrigo Garcia's human smuggling case. The next day, December 4th, the evidentiary hearing was canceled. It was scheduled for December 5th. That was the same day that Kilmar Abrigo Garcia's highfalutin lawyers from New York City stipulated that he did actually possess the 2 phone numbers that were allegedly used to solicit sexual images and have a disgusting conversation with a 15-year-old girl. Now, the same day, interestingly enough, there was a proposed order from the prosecutors that was submitted under seal. That means we can't look at it, but it's something that would need the judge's signature in order to become what the court is operating on. And then nothing happened over the weekend, but late last night, Kilmar Abrigo Garcia sought permission to file under seal a response to this proposed order. And in their request to seal it, his lawyers said, well, we don't actually think this needs to be sealed. Now, initially, I'm thinking, what on earth could be a sealed proposed order to the court that would have necessitated ending or canceling this evidentiary hearing? This evidentiary hearing, by the way, is because Kilmar Abrigo Garcia says he's being vindictively prosecuted and the case should be thrown out, and it seemed like the judge was buying it. So it's very suspect that this was canceled out of nowhere. So that led me to think perhaps we have reopened the negotiating for a plea deal that happened over the summer and fell through at the last minute. But now this morning, though, that Kilmar Abrego Garcia submitted these late Sunday filings saying, no, this doesn't need to be under seal. Judge, that makes me wonder if perhaps we were jumping the gun, those who were suspecting that perhaps a plea deal is underway, and this could be something mundane. But the fact, again, that they canceled this evidentiary hearing, Kilmar Abrego Garcia could be packing his bags in the jailhouse right now and preparing to walk free if they had not canceled that evidentiary hearing. It tells us that something is finally going in this case.
Okay, so the steps are, there's a sealed order that the prosecutors sent, right? It's a sealed. It's not an order. It's a proposed order. Order. A sealed proposed order. Then, of course, these attorneys for these very clever, very expensive, very far left attorneys, the dozens of them, who are representing Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the illegal alien, who's been here in the country illegally since 2012. Long time. They are saying, "Oh, yeah, we're responding to that sealed request for an order, but you don't have to seal it." What kind of gamesmanship is that?
It is quite interesting. And again, why would they not want this sealed unless they want it to be reported? Perhaps they're receiving questions about what this proposed order from the other side is and dislike that it was all filed under seal. But I think we are going to have to get some clarification from the court by Friday of this week, surely, because if this is not some sort of plea deal negotiation, then Kilmar Abrego Garcia will want to have his evidentiary hearing where he will seek to prove vindictive prosecution before January, when, of course, the trial is scheduled to start.
Well, physically today, where is Kilmar Abrego Garcia?
Well, it's very interesting because Kilmar Abrego Garcia was set to come to Tennessee last week. Judge Paula Zinnes still has on her desk a motion that would have authorized him to go back from Pennsylvania, where he's at an ICE facility now, back to the Middle District of Tennessee so he could attend the evidentiary hearing for vindictive prosecution in person. What's interesting, why I bring that up, is because that motion is still sitting on her desk. There has been nothing else supplied by either the DOJ or Kilmar's immigration lawyers saying, hey, this is no longer necessary, but it was for a specific date. So to answer your question, he's still in an ICE facility sitting in Pennsylvania waiting for some Obama-appointed judge to free him.
Okay. Meanwhile, back in the criminal case here in Middle Tennessee, in the Federal District Court of Middle Tennessee, we've got back and forth a proposed final order that's been sealed, submitted by the Department of Justice. Is it called a proposed order or a proposed final order?
Proposed order.
Okay, so it could be, anything, right? And that now the judge, the highly paid army of litigators defending the quote due process rights of the illegal alien and alleged human smuggler, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, they have responded to that proposed order, and they said, well, this doesn't have to be sealed. When will we hear something from the judge in that case, Judge Waverly Crenshaw, who's hearing the alleged smuggling case?
What's again fascinating about this is the judge seemed like he was completely buying Abrego Garcia's line when it came to vindictive prosecution. And on Friday, I would not have been surprised if the hearing ended with an admonishment from Crenshaw and a notice that he would be coming up with a decision in the coming days that might not be too favorable to the prosecutors. So I say that because the fact that he canceled that evidentiary hearing tells me that there is going to likely be some rapid action that will possibly explain what on earth all of these suddenly sealed filings are. I certainly think it's going to happen by the end of this week because, again, they have a trial coming up. It's scheduled for January. They're supposed to be starting the jury selection process before too long.
The jury selection process. And they'll be looking for jurors from Middle Tennessee, right? That's what, 10, 12 counties, including Davidson County, but not limited to Davidson County.
Well, that's right. And they've already, I mean, they know this is coming. So as much as Abrego Garcia's lawyers seem to have been trying to delay, they have gotten together with prosecutors about 2 weeks ago. They've submitted a jury questionnaire. They know that the trial is coming in January. They have said once or twice that perhaps we will need to delay it. The judge does not seem eager to delay it. I think they know they're running out of runway here if they want to have their client receive some sort of deal that does not result in a high-profile and bombastic trial that includes references to these, again, alleged text messages he sent a 15-year-old, the alleged abuse of the women in his life. It goes on and on and on, far beyond the allegations, but the prosecutors claim that they need to bring in this additional evidence to prove the central core of their allegations, that he is an MS-13, a human smuggler. So I think that there is a lot of motivation from the defense attorneys to get this out of the way. I also think there is a lot of motivation from the prosecutors, though, because they're looking at this vindictive prosecution hearing. They're looking at Paula Zinnes out in Maryland, who wants to free him and says any day now she's going to release an order that will likely demand he be released from immigration custody. I think both sides now finally have an incentive, potentially, to come to a deal.
The interesting thing about this is, to me, Tom, it looks like this claim of vindictive prosecution is a bit of a Hail Mary by the defense. And they're hanging it all on public statements made by the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche. But those public statements came, I think, well after the decision to prosecute was made. I look at it, and I look at the standards for vindictive prosecution. To me, none of these standards have been met at all. In fact, to the contrary, this guy got a special deal because, as we've documented in our documentary about a due process and Kilmar Abrego Garcia, I don't know how many times we have to say this, Tom. I mean, you broke the story here at the Tennessee Star. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, in November of 2022, was driving a van that he did not own near Cookeville, Tennessee, on Highway I-40, and he was speeding, and he was kind of swerving, and was pulled over by the Tennessee Highway Patrol. They discovered that he did not have a valid driver's license. Okay, any normal person would have immediately gone off to the Huskow. They also discovered that he was driving a vehicle owned by his so-called boss, who was a convicted human smuggler. And they found that his passengers were 9 illegal aliens who only spoke Spanish. And you broke the story that the Biden-era FBI told Tennessee Highway Patrol to release those guys. To me, you talk about justice. Justice would be prosecuting this guy that night in November. Your thoughts on that, Tom Pappert?
Well, that absolutely would have been justice, and I am utterly convinced that if there had been a different person in the White House, if Joe Biden wasn't... In fact, there was a great write-up in the New York Times just yesterday talking about how in 2022 specifically, Biden was in ignore the problem and hope it goes away mode when it comes to the southern border. That's what and when I say Biden, I obviously mean the people surrounding him who allegedly made all of the decisions. So it's my belief that had that person and that group not been in place back on November 30th, 2022, 3 weeks after the midterm elections, mind you, that Kilmar Abrego Garcia never would have walked away, or rather driven his modified SUV with 9 people in it. No, he would have been going to jail. And frankly, those 9 people, they probably would have gotten the help that they need.
Yeah, probably would have. Okay, stick around, Tom. We've got more to talk to you about. Tom Pappert, Dow Prize winner for Best Local Journalism in the country. Back after this.
Each of us is born with 30 trillion cells that make us. These cells determine how we feel, perform, sleep, focus, and how long we live. And to live our best life, all we have to do is feed our cells properly. But most supplements don't reach our cells, keeping us from reaching our full potential. Make every cell count with Healthy Cell. Founded with a mission to empower people to take control of their own health at the most fundamental level, the cell. Dr. Vincent Gempapa, world-renowned cell researcher and medical doctor, created supplements that work at the cellular level to support immune health, better sleep, sharper focus, and healthy aging. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of any product. That's healthycell.com, HEALTHYCELL, and use code GODZILLA for 20% off.
Is your pet ready for some pawsome fun? At Creekside Pet Hotel in Kennesaw, every day is a tail-wagging adventure. Whether they're romping with friends in day camp, enjoying a staycation in our cozy boarding, or getting pampered in our luxury spa, we make sure every furry guest gets the royal treatment. Happy pets, wagging tails, and the best care. What more could they ask for? Book your pet's perfect getaway today at creeksidepethotel.com or give us a call at 770-422-4700.
These illegal skill games that keep popping up, fights break out, they're illegal, we got drugs, we got gangs, they're all over the place. How do you get illegal slot machines in convenience stores when Governor Youngkin, you vetoed it, and no referendum, nobody passed it? How are they still here?
At the end of the day, it is local Commonwealth's attorneys that have to bring the cases against the establishments and to get them out. And so, yes, I vetoed bills. The High Court has said that they can't be there. And on top of that, our Attorney General has done a full investigation. And we go back to our Commonwealth's attorneys in so many jurisdictions refuse to enforce the law. That's the bottom line. They protect the criminals at the expense of the victims. And that's why, again, elections matter. We have got to elect prosecutors who will put people in jail.
This ad paid for by Churchill Downs.
Attention construction pros. Purple Wave Auction brings quality equipment to your fingertips. Join our bi-weekly online auctions featuring dozers, excavators, loaders, and more. We provide detailed listings, photos, and seller contact info. Inspect online or in person. With our no reserve policy, every item sells to the highest bidder. Visit purplewave.com today and see why informed builders choose Purple Wave. Transparent processes, real deals. Your next great purchase awaits. purplewave.com.
Hey there, it's Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of GlockStore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported our Second Amendment rights with GlockStore.com, the world's #1 source for Glock handguns, parts, and accessories. I also support accurate, unbiased journalism like The Michael Patrick Leahy Show. His team broke the Kilmar Abrego Garcia traffic stop and was the first to obtain that video. Independent journalism at its finest. Visit us at GlockStore.com, listen to Michael Patrick Leahy, and make America great again.
This is State Senator Mark Pouty. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pouty.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pouty, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
We are joined on our Zoom Newsmaker line right now by our lead political reporter at the Tennessee Star and the Star News Network, Dow Prize winner, Tom Pappard. Tom, you had a story last week about Tennessee law enforcement agencies partnering with ICE, increased from 8 to 53 just this past year. That's Tennessee. I have noticed now that in blue cities and blue states, they're kind of creating a new idea of their own constitution. They're rejecting the supremacy clause, and they are actively engaged in obstructing ICE from securing illegal aliens for detention and deportation. Case in point, have you seen what's going on in New Orleans, by the way?
I've seen a little bit. I've also seen New York. It's a phenomenon. It's a real phenomenon.
Yeah, and so what they think, they're kind of redefining what it means to be an American. You and I understand American citizenship has duties and responsibilities that are outlined in the Constitution, which we all have agreed to be governed by, shall we say. They've got a different view. They, in the blue cities and the blue states, they think, oh no, you become an American citizen just by crossing the border. And I think, here's my view on it, Tom. I'd like to get your analysis. I think this is a consequence of the success of the Trump administration, Trump 2.0, in cutting off illegal immigration into the United States. It's been a huge problem because today, about 17% of our population is foreign born. The highest it had ever been before was like 14.5% back in 1920, before the modern era. And, American legislators looked around and said, it's not working. They're not assimilating fast enough. The assimilation has not gone well in the past couple decades because, for instance, Somali immigrants don't want to assimilate. But in blue cities, many of the police department, many of the political leaders, like in New Orleans, many of the local agitators, leftists, are trying to assert a different view of what it means to be an American by, in essence, obstructing the detention of illegal aliens by federal law enforcement officers. How bad is this going to get, in your view, Tom Pappert?
Well, Michael, it is a political decision, and I would say I don't think it's as bad as some of us may fear. And my evidence to this is the first year of the Trump administration. It's not even over yet. We have it until January 20th before it's 365 days, and Trump has deported 700,000 people. That's 700,000 people where an ICE agent went and found them, put them in a deportation center, and sent them back to their country of origin or a third-party country. And then there's another 2 million people, that's what the data is telling us, that have self-deported from the country. And for some context, I was doing research over the weekend. This is the biggest mass deportation program, not in American history, as far as I can tell it, in world history. Trump has actually doubled the numbers that President Eisenhower pulled off all the way back in 1954. And that was the high watermark for American mass deportations, was Eisenhower, until President Trump came along. So if you look at, for example, what's happening in New Orleans, you do have a far left radical city with this insane police chief and insane city government. But the state of Louisiana is very red, just like Tennessee. And I think you're starting to see some of the Republicans in the legislature and other national Republicans in the state start to rein in the out-of-control sanctuary policies in the city. I'm certainly hopeful you'll see a situation similar to what unfolded in Nashville, where Freddie O'Connell sort of began sitting on his hands after Andy Ogle started a congressional investigation into his actions to support illegal immigrants. And in New York, we've of course seen Mamdani. He did a video yesterday that was purportedly legal advice to illegal immigrants who get a knock on the door from ICE. And basically his advice, Michael, is don't let them know you're home. Shut off the lights and tell them they can't come inside. That doesn't seem like a long-term solution to me. I think you're going to see these cities essentially lose their political footing as they appear and prove to be completely passive and incapable of standing up to the Trump administration, because it is the federal government, and I don't think they have the appetite for a civil war. At least I certainly hope not.
It's interesting because Zohran Mamdani, with that video over the weekend, highlighted, in essence, the due process rights, which, by the way, are much more limited for illegal aliens. Highlighted that. Doesn't seem to care about the due process rights of American citizens. Okay, I don't think that's going to play so well with the Trump administration, Tom.
No, I don't think so. And we've already seen people like Tom Homan and Kristi Noem talk about this. The more a far-left government tries to thumb their nose at the Trump administration, the more likely they seem to be to launch a new operation in that city. We've seen this in Charlotte. We've seen this in Nashville. If you are going to try to declare yourself a sanctuary openly and publicly and essentially send out flares to all the illegal immigrants saying, come here, we'll protect you. Well, the Trump administration has been clear that's not how it works anymore.
As well, it should be these days. Tom Pappert, thanks so much for joining us. Always great to have you on.
Thank you, Michael. Always a pleasure.
Hey, up next, the one, the only, Mark Pulliam, retired attorney, author of Misrule of Law. And we've got a cornucopia of judicial insurrection and blue state and blue city insanity. Back after this.
In 2008, the amount of concentrated time people could spend on a task without becoming distracted was 12 seconds. 5 years later, it was only 8 seconds, 1 second less than a goldfish. If you're often distracted or have trouble recalling information, you're likely to fall behind in the demanding, fast-paced 21st century. In other words, brain performance is more critical now than ever. Boost your brain power with Healthy Cells Focus Plus Recall. Science-backed nootropics to help you sharpen focus, concentrate longer, enhance recall, improve mental speed, learn rapidly, and be more alert. It's a pill-free brain supplement made with maximum absorption ingestible gel technology, designed to feed your brain at the cellular level. Take it for a test drive. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of Focus Plus Recall. That's healthycell.com, code GODZILLA for 20% off.
The Cats and Cosby Show.
It's the top news of the day.
John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby tackle today's biggest issues with a New York state of mind.
We are going to talk about dirty money.
This is a total failure of the media, the journalists, and the Democratic Party.
Treat yourself to a bite of the apple.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories.
Cats and Cosby, weekdays 5 Eastern, 4 Central on the stations of the John Fredericks Media Network.
And those are the big headlines of the day.
John Fredericks loves his radio and TV audience, but did you know how to follow the Godzilla of Truth wherever you go? Download the John Fredericks Radio Show app to listen live nationwide. For the daily chit-chat, Trucking the Truth, download the Getter app and join the morning fun on Getter Live from 6 to 10 a.m. Follow John Fredericks on Getter, Truth Social, or Twitter at JF Radio.
This is WJFN, Goochland, Bonaire, Chester, and WJFV, Portsmouth.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. President Trump reportedly set to unveil a $12 billion farm aid package. The official announcement expected this afternoon at the White House. Ukrainian President Zelensky has been meeting with French, German, and British leaders in London today. The talks aim to strengthen Ukraine's position in negotiations on a U.S.-backed plan to end the war with Russia. A newly unveiled defense spending bill comes with a mind-boggling price tag.
The sweeping 3,000-page bill authorizes a record $901 billion in national security spending next year. That's billions more than President Trump's request. The measure includes a 4% raise for enlisted troops, as well as $400 million in military assistance to Ukraine. House Speaker Mike Johnson said the legislation would advance the president's agenda by ending woke ideology at the Pentagon and securing the border, among other priorities. Greg Clugston, Washington.
GOP Congressman Andy Biggs suggests he does not think Democrats will gain much traction with voters by hammering away at the affordability issue ahead of next year's midterm elections. Biggs tells the Salem Radio Network that for Republicans, it's all about getting the message out.
We have to address health care, and as prices do continue to come down, we have to somehow break through the stranglehold that the socialist Marxist media has and let people know, yeah, prices are coming down. There are jobs being created in this country, and that you really didn't see that under Joe Biden. And that's we have to get our message out. If we get our message out, we win.
Paramount is challenging Netflix's $72 billion deal to purchase Warner Brothers Discovery. Paramount offering $30 per share cash for the entirety of Warner Brothers Discovery. Watching Wall Street, the Dow down about 157 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-366-6161. That's 800-366-6161. 800-366-6161.
The outgoing head of the UN Refugee Agency is concerned about Syria. He says the country is at a crucial crossroads a year after the fall of the Assad dictatorship.
Filippo Grandi said Syrians had returned to almost nothing. Houses destroyed, services on the verge of collapse, no jobs. But if life didn't improve, he feared they would leave again in frustration. Mr. Grandi acknowledged that there was still, in his words, a lot of apprehension about issues including the minorities in Syria as well as the rights of women. But he cautioned that time was running out to help Syrians choose the right way, not the wrong way.
The BBC's Lise Doucette. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says Israel and Hamas are expected to move into the second phase of their ceasefire soon. It will begin after Hamas returns the remains of the final hostage being held in Gaza. News and analysis, townhall.com. The UN's aid office is downsizing its annual fundraising appeal for next year after support for the effort fizzled.
The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs says it's seeking $33 billion to help some 135 million people cope with fallout from wars, climate disasters, earthquakes, epidemics and food shortages. This year, it took in $15 billion, the lowest level in a decade. OCHA Chief Tom Fletcher says in 2025, hunger surged, food budgets were slashed, even as famines hit part of Sudan and Gaza. Health systems broke apart too. The UN aid coordinator sought $47 billion for this year and aimed to help 190 million people worldwide. Because of the lower support, it and humanitarian partners reached 25 million people fewer this year than in 2024. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. We are broadcasting live from our studios in Nashville, Tennessee. We welcome to our microphones all-star panelist, good friend, retired attorney, also the author of Misrule of Law, the one, the only, Mark Pulliam. Good morning, Mark.
Good to be here this morning, Michael.
Mondays are always a highlight when you come in hour two and give us the truth about what's going on with the rule of law. Donald Trump just recently made a very significant announcement. He got rid of these ridiculous corporate average fuel economy standards that the Biden administration threw in. What they said, 60 miles an hour by 2035, something like that. He has now put forward an initiative called Freedom Means Affordable Cars. Notice affordable in the headline there. Tell me, what's this about?
So our theme this morning is important news stories that aren't necessarily dominating the headlines. And sometimes what's in the headlines is not necessarily important, and sometimes things that are important don't get the news coverage they deserve, which is why we're talking about it this morning. Now, a lot of people have probably never heard of the so-called CAFE, C-A-F-E, which, as you say, corporate average fuel economy standards. And they don't recognize how important it is that President Trump, he hasn't rescinded them. It's part of a rulemaking proposal being put out by the Department of Transportation that would revise them and significantly neuter them, and which is just as good as abolishing them. And what people don't recognize or don't generally know is that this has been going on for almost 50 years.
Yeah, long time, 70s. I think I don't even, I've told you this. Back in 1977, I wrote my thesis at Harvard was on the structured conduct and performance of the American automobile industry.
Oh, well then.
And so I was my thesis advisor was Michael Porter, for instance, who's been out there, Harvard B School professor, and the CAFE standards have been really around since then.
Yes. So they were enacted into law in 1975. They went into effect in 1977. And people today do not, most people, old people remember, I remember, that we had something called the gas crisis in the early 70s.
Right.
And then we had the 1973 to 74 Arab oil embargo.
We had lines, big lines to go to the gas station.
And unfortunately, Donald Trump was not yet president. He would have said the way we achieve freedom from being dependent on Arab oil is to drill, baby, drill, and to become energy independent. That's not the way we were thinking in the 70s. And Nixon was in the White House. Nixon's solution to a lot of things was, have more federal regulation. And certainly that was the mindset of Congress. So they came up with these CAFE standards that basically set federal guidelines, not just guidelines, but requirements for the American auto industry and foreign auto companies that sold cars in America would have to achieve certain average fuel economy standards fleet-wide based on a metric of how many cars you sold in each model and what their targeted gas mileage was. And if on a fleet-wide basis the auto manufacturer didn't meet these standards, there were financial penalties. And this 50-year model of regulation has gone through a number of iterations. It's been tinkered with. And after a while, the gas shortage was no longer the driving factor, but then the climate crisis took over. But in any event, very rarely until now has any national leader stood up and said, why are we doing this? Is it making any sense at all? And is it serving the interests of the American public? Should we continue doing it? And President Trump, to his great credit, is saying enough is enough, and we're basically going to put an end to this. And it's like, if you think about it, setting these fuel standard dictates is a form of government regulation over private economic activity. It's like rent control. It's like wage and price controls. Invariably, you create problems. You have unintended consequences. You've got distortions of the market. And in order to fix one thing, then you kind of tinker with the regulation, and then you just kind of compound it and compound it and compound it until you finally have a big mess. And so some of the things that have happened as a result of these CAFE standards is auto prices have gone up. That Detroit has to spend a lot of money re-engineering its technology, its engines, in order to make them more and more fuel efficient. Those costs gets passed on to consumers, and so new cars have gone up.
The average price of a new car is very, very high.
And that then slops over into the used car market because, so it has driven the cost of automobiles up. And even worse than that, it's created a lot of things that people don't normally blame on this aspect of federal regulation. That the most profitable and popular model of car that American automakers, is SUVs and pickup trucks. But they tend to have worse than average gas mileage.
Yeah.
And so
because they're bigger.
In order to avoid having these financial penalties, they had to start selling subcompacts, economy cars, which they had difficulty competing with Honda and Toyota and Nissan. And in order to sell their cars, they had to lower the price. So in effect, SUV and pickup truck buyers were subsidizing these crappy subcompacts that American car makers made that nobody wanted. And that just kind of increased the market share.
Are you suggesting that these regulations distorted the free market?
They did. And the it also, since car companies like Toyota and Honda, most of what they sold were small cars that easily met these federal standards, they had the opportunity to introduce full-size cars into the American market without eating into their fleet-wide average. And so thus, Honda decided to come up with Acura, Toyota decided to come up with Lexus. So these CAFE standards arguably opened the door to Japanese competing in segments other than economy cars. And then the worst thing they did was they created this sub-market. If car companies had their fleet below the efficiency standards, met that, they could get credits for that, which they could then sell to companies that needed to bring their fleet-wide average within the limits.
By the way, this is the distortion of markets to the advantage of politically connected investment firms and, I don't know, people. You know who made his fortune off of this kind of credit stuff?
Elon Musk and Tesla.
And Al Gore.
Yeah.
Al Gore's like big into that.
Yeah. So these tradable credits then is one of the things, in addition to the tax incentives, that made Tesla so popular and made Tesla so successful. So it distorted the market, imposed costs, and coerced American car companies. The worst thing is, under Biden, they raised these CAFE standards to 50 miles per gallon fleet-wide. Your average car,
ridiculous.
Yeah, and so you couldn't meet it using internal combustion engines. And so Ford and General Motors capitulated and sort of said, okay, we're going to go down the EV road.
And guess what? Guess what people are not buying?
They're not buying those things. And it was a giant economic folly, and all of which was induced not because consumers wanted these things, but because they had to buy them.
They were forced to do it.
Yeah.
And Trump is fixing it.
Fixing it.
With the regulatory process. Good news. All right, when we come back, we'll hear more on the misrule of law from our very good friend, Mark Pulliam. Some Texas Democrat judges, liberal judges, got slapped down by the Supreme Court. Well, we knew it was coming because if you listen to this program, you knew that's how it would turn out. Back after this.
Hey folks, Al Green here for SatPhone. When you're on the go, you want to know you're connected. If it's a family vacation or an off-the-grid escape to a remote destination, having reliable communication helps you feel safe and secure. You can't afford to find yourself in a dead zone. That's why you need SatPhone. SatPhones are reliable, durable, and give you global coverage. If you can get outside, you can get in touch. It's that simple. Make calls from your SatPhone to any regular cell phone in the United States. The phones are $1,500 value, but you can get yours free. Just sign up for a 15-month plan, $94.95 a month. Get 150 minutes monthly that roll to the next month. Go 3 months without using them, that's fine. Yes, 3 months, 450 minutes, all yours. Visit SAT123.com or call 855-980-5830. SAT123.com, 855-980-5830. Get surety and security with your sat phone. Call now.
The math is simple. Every dollar we waste on unnecessary federal supervision is a dollar we can't use to fight violent crime. The Safer Supervision Act cuts bureaucratic waste and frees up law enforcement resources to protect families from serious threats. Law enforcement officers across the country and Republicans in Congress agree this is a smarter way to improve public safety. Stop the waste, protect our communities, fix federal supervision. Visit safersupervision.com to help. Paid for by the Reform Action Fund.
Ready to turn your idle equipment into cash? Purple Wave Auction is your solution. We specialize in no-reserve online auctions, bringing nationwide buyers to your doorstep. From excavators to dozers, we'll market your assets to a vast audience of eager buyers. No hauling required. We photograph and list your equipment where it sits. Experience our transparent and simple process with expert support. Join successful sellers who trust Purple Wave. Visit purplewave.com today to learn how easy selling can be.
How much did you win at Rosie's Gaming Emporium?
Hi, I'm Jerry from Richmond. I won a $23,000 jackpot at Rosie's.
I'm Tammy. I'm from Newport News, and I just won a $5,400 jackpot from Rosie's.
Hi, my name is Kim, and I'm from Gloucester, Virginia, and I won $99,000 jackpot at Rosie's.
Are you ready? Learn more about Rosie's rewards and jackpots at rosiesgaming.com. Must be 18 or older. Problem gambling? Call 1-888-532-3500.
Is your fur baby looking a bit rough? Transform them from shaggy to snazzy with Be Fur and After Pet Grooming in Marietta, Georgia. Their top-notch groomers pamper your pups with baths, custom cuts, and nail trims that'll have them strutting like show dogs. From mobile grooming vans to their cozy salon, they'll make your pet spa day a tail-wagging blast. Book now at BeFurandAfterGrooming.com. Be Fur and After, where pets go from grr to glamorous.
I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of Glockstore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported the Second Amendment rights of free men and women to protect themselves and their families with firearms. We offer the very best in both selection and prices on Glock handguns, custom Glocks, Glock magazines, and high-performance shooting accessories at Glockstore.com. We also have the finest retail showroom and our Shoot 270 shoot rooms right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Come visit us at Glockstore.com, and you'll be glad you did.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
In studio, all-star panelist, good friend, author of the Misrule of Law blog, the one, the only, Mark Pally. Mark, if one reason people should pay attention to this segment every Monday in the second hour of the program is because you're able to deliver legal news from the future. And we discussed in great detail the redistricting case in Texas. And in that, a couple of kind of leftist judges, district court judges, undermined a more established, more respected circuit court judge and really disrespected him in the way they ruled 2-1 that the redistricting was racial and not political. He basically said, he slapped him around and said, oh no, it was political. You predicted it would go to the Supreme Court. You predicted the Supreme Court would overrule that panel of judges. Explain to us what happened.
Well, you're talking about the Abbott versus Lulac case, which is the legal challenge that was made to a revised congressional map done by the Republican-controlled state legislature in Texas in the middle of what normally is a decade. You do these reapportionments typically at the end of a decade when the census results are out, but you're not limited to that.
That's been the practice.
That's been the practice.
But there's no legal prohibition on doing it at any time during that decade.
So Republican-controlled states have decided, look, we are going to do what we can to help President Trump maintain control of the Congress in these midterm elections, because if he loses control of the Congress, his whole agenda is going to be sidelined, and we're not going to enjoy the benefits of the MAGA agenda that he's promised. So Governor Abbott called upon the legislature to do this. They did it. And immediately, this group of civil rights groups, LULAC, the
usual suspects,
went into court and filed a legal challenge to it, was assigned to a 3-judge panel. And as you say, the 2 of the judges ganged up against the 3rd judge, who was the respected Fifth Circuit Judge Jerry Smith.
Yeah, let's just say they were trial court judges. He's higher up in the chain.
And he's been on the bench for 30-plus years, and he's regarded as a very smart, very principled judge. And he wrote a very blistering dissent, which we talked about at length, and I've never seen a dissent like it, and he took them to the woodshed big time. And it did get the attention of the Circuit Justice Sam Alito, who issued an immediate stay, and then it came up for a longer-term stay, which last week was granted 6-3. The 3 Democrat-appointed judges.
Hold it. If you say the Supreme Court has ruled 6-3, let me put my Karnak the Magnificent hat on. For those of you of a certain age, that was a little routine that Johnny Carson used to do to predict things. If it's 6-3, you know who the 3 are going to be. They're going to be Elena Kagan, Sonia Sotomayor, and the worst Supreme Court justice in history, Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Exactly, and they got the smartest of the 3, Kagan, to write the dissent to this order. So what the order does is keep in place the initial stay, so that this 3-judge, the 2-1 panel decision will be stayed. It's not a decision on the merits. This is part of the emergency docket. They haven't even agreed to hear this Abbott v. Lulac case on the merits, but there is an appeal, a cert petition pending, and it will, anyway, the stay remains in effect until either the state of Texas decides not to appeal, their cert petition is denied, or they lose in the Supreme Court.
In effect, though, what it means is that these new districts are in effect for the 2026 midterms.
And they were written and designed for the express purpose of allowing Republican candidates to pick up to 5 additional congressional seats. And so that's a success. Now, I think the fact, even though it's not on the merits, the fact that it's 6-3 is highly reflective of what is likely to be the result of a pending case involving interpretation of the Voting Rights Act that has already been argued and will be decided this term, and that's the Louisiana versus Calais case. And so I think that gives you a pretty good read in terms of how the court is going to approach this. And the importance of this Calais case is the Supreme Court in this area, as in so many other areas, prior to President Trump and his historic appointment of 3 rigorous originalist judges to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court has done an abysmal job messing things up, creating doctrinal confusion, reaching incorrect results, and they are slowly but surely working their way through this mountain of errors and fixing it. Just like President Trump is fixing so many things that have gone wrong in recent decades.
Can I just stop? You're quite right, because I mean, how long has the Supreme Court been off kilt? A long time, Probably going back, to the 1940s and the 1960s and 70s. But with the arrival of Scalia and Thomas in the 1990s, you could see a series of minority opinions setting the stage for the corrections that have really come very significantly in the past 4 or 5 years.
Well, and the real pioneer in this regard was William Rehnquist, who Nixon appointed, and he literally was the only conservative on the court for many years, and he earned the reputation, the Lone Ranger, because he wrote 52 solo dissents, dissents that nobody else joined, but he was telling the truth, and eventually people realized he's right. And that is how we kind of moved the court away, but now it's swinging big time into the right direction. So what the Supreme Court has done incorrectly over the period of decades is to interpret the Voting Rights Act to either require or to permit racial considerations in the drawing of congressional districts, and in effect having quotas, so that if, as in Louisiana, the case is that blacks comprise 1/3 of the electorate. Louisiana has 6 congressional seats, but only one of them has elected a black congressman. So the idea is they're underrepresented in Congress. Therefore, there must be something wrong with the voting districts. And that used to be considered a good argument. But now they are, just like with college admissions, Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard, they're saying these rules to comply with the 14th Amendment and the 15th Amendment have to be race neutral.
Yeah,
there's
the key. So it's really been long established. Political gerrymandering. That is designing congressional districts for the advantage of the party in power has long been established as legal. What has been the change that came about is racially designed districts were illegal, asterisk, unless they benefited basically minorities. That was really kind of where it went. Now they're correcting that, it seems to me.
Yeah, and the other thing to keep in mind is that from the beginning of the Republic up until the 1960s, how states drew, and the state legislatures are the people in charge of drawing these congressional districts, how states chose to draw their legislative districts, state and federal, were considered something that was none of the judiciary's business.
Bingo.
It was considered a political question until Reynolds v. Sims and Baker v. Carr, written by Brennan during the heyday of the Warren Court. They opened this Pandora's box, and then Congress came in 1965 and decided, well, we're going to get involved in this, and it's been a disaster ever since. But if the pendulum is swinging back to colorblindness, racially neutral redistricting, what we're going to see is the Supreme Court will say and this is my prediction, in Louisiana versus Calais, that there's nothing wrong with the Louisiana districts. There is no requirement that we have, in effect, quotas for African-American representatives. We have 60 African-Americans in Congress right now, and most of them are elected from districts that are not majority-minority. So there is no discrimination. This is not the Jim Crow South.
No,
and
not at all.
The Supreme Court needs to get over this, and by doing this, by, in effect, removing this layer of incorrect judicial interpretation, that is going to be another thing that's going to increase the number of Republicans elected, which will contribute to preserving Republican control of Congress, which is essential for President Trump to continue to implement the MAGA agenda.
And now John Fredericks is up in Indiana right now, and that whole redistricting to add 2 more seats in Indiana for Republicans will be decided by the end of this week. It passed the state Senate. Will it pass the House? We'll find out. Back after this with Birthright Citizenship.
Alrighty.
With the one, the only, Mark Pulliam. Back after this.
This is Crom Carmichael, CEO of Solti. We got a wonderful email from one of our customers up east named Joe, and here's what he had to say. I started taking Solti almost out of desperation with little hope because I was resigned to the futility that although I was up to taking 2 statins a day, high cholesterol was something I just had to learn to live with. In fact, when I turned 60, after taking a stress cardio test, my doctor called me on a Saturday, which of course is never a good sign, and told me that I was clogged more than 95% of the people my age. I had an angioplasty and a stent procedure done at that time. Today, my stubborn triglycerides are only 1/3 of what they had been before starting taking Solti. My prescription statin dosage has shrunk from 60 milligrams to only 10 milligrams a day. My primary care doctor that I have had for many years still can't believe the results, and neither can I. Thank you, Solti, for providing such a wonderful product. And folks, I want to invite you to take care of your heart also by going to GodzillaHeart.com. That's GodzillaHeart.com. Use the code Godzilla at checkout, and you'll get a 50% discount on your initial shipment. Thanks so much.
The Katz and Cosby Show.
It's the top news of the day.
John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby tackle today's biggest issues with a New York state of mind.
We are going to talk about dirty money.
This is a total failure of the media, the journalists, and the Democratic Party.
Treat yourself to a bite of the apple.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories.
Katz and Cosby, weekdays 5 Eastern, 4 Central on the stations of the John Fredericks Media Network.
And those are the big headlines of the day.
Attorney General Miyares and John Fredericks talk about skill games.
They're unregulated slot machines.
They pop up in 7-Elevens in every corner of Virginia.
The General Assembly has spoken on this.
Skill games.
These things are illegal.
It's the Wild Wild West. Fights break out. Robberies increase.
Skill games.
They prey on the less fortunate.
I say it's a tax on the poor.
They're breaking the law.
My job is to enforce the law. These machines are not allowed.
Enforce the law and get them out of there.
When you see skill games, call the local sheriff.
These things are illegal.
Paid for by Churchill Downs.
Cold weather is here, and it's only getting colder. When you want instant whole room warmth, you go with Eden Pure, a trusted name for years on my show. Now they've done it again with the Eden Pure Gen 40 Plus infrared heater. This powerful compact unit gives you fast, even heat you can feel in seconds. Infrared heat warms you directly, not just the air around you, and it doesn't dry out the air. It's quiet, compact, and safe with multiple built-in safety shutoffs, and it heats up to 1,000 square feet. Perfect for the living room, bedroom, or office. And right now, Eden Pure is thanking our listeners. The Gen 40 Plus normally sells for $224, but Eden Pure is giving our VIP listeners an additional $50 off, bringing it to just $174. That's right, only $174 for state-of-the-art infrared heater. Now, this is a limited time offer with a strict limit of 3, and supplies are moving fast. So go to EdenPureDeals.com, use promo code Godzilla50. EdenPureDeals.com, promo code Godzilla50.
My fellow Americans, I was this close, very close, to buying from the lumber yards. These are sick people. But I turned my head at the last second, and I saw a big, beautiful ad for D.T. McCall's. These are highly respected people. If I had not turned my head at the last second, I would have been ripped off at some lumber yard for $200 in hidden charges, and D.T. McCall & Sons are never going to do that. They'd never do that to you. These are great people. I've known them for a long time. They have great deals, and I just have to say, nobody knows deals like I do. D.T. McCall & Sons has locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, and they have been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years. These are tremendous people. D.T. McCall & Sons. Check out one of their stores today.
Impersonator not endorsed by Donald Trump.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. In studio, author of Misrule of Law, Mark Pulliam. Mark, listener Leonard has a few words to say about Sonia Sotomayor. Leonard, welcome.
Good to hear you guys, Mark and Patrick. Good to talk to you guys. Real quick, Sotomayor, her only qualification that she named while being confirmed was that she was a Latina woman. Yeah, right. And you, Patrick Leahy, you need to be, Supreme Court Justice because you're Patrick Leahy from Tennessee.
There you go. I think, if nominated, I would probably not accept. And if named, I would probably not serve. But thank you for that, Leonard.
Well, even more absurdly, she didn't just claim that she was qualified to be on the Supreme Court because she's a Latina. She said that being Latina made her wise, so that she was a wise Latina, suggesting that if you were not a Latina, that you would not be as wise. And if that's not racist, I don't know what is.
Leonard, are you a wise Latino? And does that qualify you for the Supreme Court?
Absolutely. I'm the grand poopa of wise Latinos. But one more point. If you remember, Alcee Hastings District in Florida looked like a snake. I mean, it went through, it left, right, up and down just to keep that corrupt Democrat. So when Democrats play, they play for keeps, buddy.
They do. Leonard, thank you for that call. Okay. Birthright. Go ahead. You were going to say something?
No. We're going to jump into this birthright citizenship.
Let me read. So the 14th Amendment, I want you to kind of go over how it came about and when it came about, what the context was historically. It's got 5 sections to it. Section 1, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. That's the very first line of the 14th Amendment. Why was there a need for the 14th Amendment? When was it ratified?
So the 14th Amendment was written after the conclusion of the Civil War and was written basically to eradicate the vestiges of slavery. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery, but then the 14th Amendment was going to restore or to create for these freed slaves remove the disadvantages of slavery, including correcting Dred Scott, which said that they were not citizens and therefore had no legal rights as citizens. So, and this is consistent with the 1866 Civil Rights Act, which the 14th Amendment arguably was created basically to ratify so that if it was declared unconstitutional as beyond Congress's power, that you would have the 14th Amendment there to back it up. And so if you look at it in terms of the 14th Amendment, Section 1, the Citizenship Clause, was intended to give citizenship to the freed slaves, then you might wonder, how do we come to the conclusion in 2025 that every illegal alien who breaks into our country and drops a baby in one of our emergency rooms at taxpayer expense has created a U.S. citizen that then becomes the anchor for chain migration for their entire family and entitlement to all the welfare benefits? Well, it's because in the United States we have for way too long interpreted the Citizenship Clause to create automatic citizenship for anybody born in the United States other than a foreign invader or the child of an ambassador from a foreign country. So even people who are here illegally can create citizenship for their children born here, which has given rise to an industry, birth tourism, where people get pregnant in some foreign country and then sneak in, or they can even go to Guam. And this is a big deal with China, and because that's considered part of the United States. And you could show up a day later, give birth, and that child is considered a citizen. It's a racket. It's a crazy scheme. If you explain this to almost any normal American off the street, they will say that's lunacy. Why are we doing this? Well, it all goes back to an 1898 Supreme Court decision, U.S. v. Wong Kim Ark. And they say the Supreme Court decided it long ago. The trouble is they didn't decide it, and some legal scholars say even if they did decide it, they decided it incorrectly. The facts in that case were a couple of Chinese immigrants who were here legally working gave birth to a child, and the question is, was that child a citizen or not? And the Supreme Court said
they were here legally.
They were here legally.
Yeah.
So that's a difference between sneaking in, breaking our law. And so a lot of this controversy comes down to the clause, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. What does that mean? And legal scholars like John Eastman and others have said subject to the jurisdiction thereof means that you are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and no other country. You do not have divided loyalties. You're not a citizen of another country, etc., which obviously in the case of a child of an illegal immigrant, they're subject to the jurisdiction of whatever country they're from, that they're foreign nationals of that country. And so we are hoping, and this is what put President Trump's candidacy in the spotlight 10 years ago when he announced that he was running for president. One of the first things he said is he would abolish birthright citizenship. And boy, that immediately, I think, put him at the top of the popularity for the Republican candidates, because this is what people had been wanting to hear, but no establishment candidate was willing to touch it. And I think with all of this massive influx of illegal immigration under Joe Biden, people have realized how important this is. If we don't fix this, we will lose our country if we haven't lost it already. Now, so President Trump did this by executive order. One of the first things he issued when he got sworn in January of this year, he was going to put an end to it. Now, people would say, even if ending birthright citizenship is permissible or is the correct interpretation of the 14th Amendment, don't you have to, in light of these Supreme Court decisions, this one from 1898, or there's a more recent one, Plyler v. Doe, which had dicta in a footnote, don't you have to...
Dicta is something they say that is included in the opinion, but not really part of the reasoning for the decision.
Yeah, it's just, it's like somebody talking too much. It's not germane. So people have said, since the 14th Amendment authorizes Congress to have the power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article, that they could pass a statute correcting this. And in fact, there have been a lot of proposals to this effect. When he was Senate Majority Leader, Harry Reid supported such a legislation fixing this. It used to be considered a mainstream point of view that moderates, Democrats, and conservatives supported, but then people sort of got gun shy about it. And now, of course, all the Democrats want as many illegal aliens being born here as possible to create this culture of dependence, to a new class of constituents, which will keep them in power forever. So I think, the first time this came up was in the emergency docket when somebody challenged this executive order and a judge enjoined it, and that made its way up to the Supreme Court in Trump v. Casa. And this was a decision that Justice Amy Coney Barrett wrote 6-3 and said district judges don't have nationwide jurisdiction to enjoin things like this, which again is not a merits decision, but gives you some indication of how the alignment would be on the court, pro and con. So this is going to get decided. It's going to be argued and decided on the merits. The case is called Trump v. Barbara. And my only concern about it is that executive order may not be the best vehicle to make this change. It might be better if it were a statute. Unfortunately, we have such a weak Congress and a Senate that is so tied up with traditions like the filibuster rule and the blue slip policy. Nothing good is happening. Trump can't even get his prosecutors confirmed. He can't even get a confirmation hearing for them in blue states because of this blue slip policy. So I think Godspeed to President Trump and to his executive order, and we will get at the minimum some clear guidance about what we need to do to fix this.
So the tea leaf readers are on the left are saying, well, it looks like that the court is not really going to go with this. That's what the tea leaf readers are saying. There are some very strong arguments that shall we say, the progressive originalists. That is, there are progressives who are looking at the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments passed in Reconstruction and are trying to kind of create an idea of what the intent of the populace at that time was. It's a false intent, I think, but they're kind of trying to do a little reverse intellectual jujitsu on that.
Well, 24 states filed amicus briefs in support of the cert petition. So you got half the states support President Trump's executive order. You have an increasing number of legal scholars, including legal scholars that are not maybe considered far-right legal scholars like John Eastman. So
you got Randy Barnett.
Libertarians are coming
Libertarian,
up. Yeah. And so I think that people have realized Richard Posner, when he was on the Seventh Circuit, said this is an idiotic rule and it could be fixed by legislation and should be fixed. So it makes no sense. And Robert Jackson wrote in a Supreme Court decision long ago, this Constitution is not a suicide pact. Interpreting the citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment to permit birthright citizenship for all illegal alien children born in this country, I think is equivalent to a suicide pact.
Yeah, it is.
Nobody should support something that's going to lead to the destruction of our country.
Well, that's good logic. The legal reasoning here, I think we're going to see, in this case, we know the three lefties will be, all in favor of overturning the executive order as unconstitutional. We know that. And then you've got, I think, Alito and Thomas will be in favor of getting rid of birthright citizenship. That leaves, of course, Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, and John Roberts. Don't know how they're going to go.
Well, I'm eager to see how it turns out. The problem with executive orders, again, is that a future Democratic president could undo it.
Well, but
anything done
but the constitutional ruling would supersede any executive order, right?
It depends on how they decided. If they say the president had the power by executive order to change it,
I got you.
But it could be changed back.
I predict 6-3. They will say it is constitutional.
I hope you're right.
I do too. Back with Mark Pulliam after this.
Ponder this. Most of us in America have more than we need to sustain ourselves, like a roof over our heads, food to eat, and clothes to wear, and much more. The one thing we seem to be lacking every day is more time. There is never enough time in our day, or in a night for that matter. That being said, we try to create more time each day by rushing around to perhaps buy a little more time. We rush from one event to another. We double or even triple task to save time. We drive fast cars to get to our fast food restaurants. Our days are full with little time left for family, friends, and God. To better manage your pace, take a minute each morning to get on your knees and let the Lord know that you are giving Him all your time today. Sincerely ask Him to give you clear direction on what He wants you to accomplish each day. The Lord will make sure you have plenty of time for His will to be done without rushing around. Listen to the Lord to manage your time each day. I'm Susie Kelly, and I am Passionately Catholic.
Did you ever stop and think, why do the wealthy pay less taxes than we do? One reason, they take full advantage of the IRS tax code. Today's tax code is over 2 million pages. Who can read that? Remember the 2016 debate with Hillary Clinton? When asked why he doesn't pay more taxes, President Trump had the perfect answer. He said, if you don't like the current tax code, change it. I follow the very laws that you wrote. That's where Julio Gonzalez and his company, Tax Engineered Services, comes in. Julio's team looks at your taxes after they're done, but before you file them with the IRS. He doesn't get between you and your accountant. He reviews your taxes, makes his recommendations, and only gets 5 to 10% of what he saved you. No money up front, no cost. It's tax literacy for MAGA. He also sees what grants you may qualify for. For more information, text ETS to the number 26786. That's ETS to 26786. Text now.
Lifestyles Unlimited is a real estate education group that gives you the roadmap and resources to start building income through real estate. You'll learn practical strategies for using investment properties to create extra income and make informed decisions, one step at a time. Join today for just $297. That's a 60% savings off the regular price of our real estate education program. Text RADIO to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007. Presented by Lifestyles Unlimited.
Is your fur baby looking a bit rough? Transform them from shaggy to snazzy with Before and After Pet Grooming in Marietta, Georgia. Their top-notch groomers pamper your pups with baths, custom cuts, and nail trims that'll have them strutting like show dogs. From mobile grooming vans to their cozy salon, they'll make your pet spa day a tail-wagging blast. Book now at beforeandaftergrooming.com. Before and After, where pets go from grr to glamorous.
Hey there, it's Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of GlockStore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported our Second Amendment rights with GlockStore.com, the world's #1 source for Glock handguns, parts, and accessories. I also support accurate, unbiased journalism like The Michael Patrick Leahy Show. His team broke the Kilmar Abrego Garcia traffic stop and was the first to obtain that video. Independent journalism at its finest. Visit us at GlockStore.com, listen to Michael Patrick Leahy, and make America great again.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
We are back with all-star panelist, author of Misrule of Law, retired attorney. I keep trying to drag him back, but he said, I'll spend an hour every week talking with you about legal issues, but I don't want to go back. I just want to be able to talk about what I want to talk about, which I understand, because that's what I do too. Okay, so now there's a little controversy within the conservative legal movement about, are we doing enough? What's that all about?
Well, it took a long time for the conservative movement in, let's say, something that started in 1955 with the founding of National Review magazine by William F. Buckley to produce Donald Trump in 2016. And I would say that most people, including myself, now conclude in hindsight that we didn't really have a truly conservative president until Donald Trump, that they were hamstrung by a lot of preconceptions. There was a lot of inertia. Even Ronald Reagan lacked the resolve to stand up and fight for the right things in the same way that, to get in the arena and just duke it out.
Reagan was a great president, but he signed Simpson-Mazzoli, which is basically led to the huge influx of immigrants, illegal immigrants in the United States, and led to our current problems.
And he wasted 2 Supreme Court appointments on Sandra Day O'Connor and Anthony Kennedy. He got Scalia right, and God bless him for that, and we should be grateful for that. But you can't waste Supreme Court appointments. That's one of the lessons that we learned, and one of the lessons that Donald Trump learned and implemented is, and he was 3 for 3 on his Supreme Court appointments, and I think he's going to have more in his second term. So just like it took a long time for the conservative movement to get MAGA right, it's taken the conservative legal movement a long time. And so what do we mean by the conservative legal movement? We're talking about organizations that promote a conservative point of view within the legal profession, within the legal industry, and that sort of boils down to, unfortunately, only one, the Federalist Society, which was founded in 1982 as a counterbalance to the left-wing bias that was becoming prevalent in legal academia. And it's only gotten worse since 1982.
It's gotten much worse.
It's gotten much worse. Yeah. And if it weren't for the fact that there was this organization that sort of provides a battle flag around which conservative students, conservative faculty, conservative judges can gather to basically preserve and build their movement, we would be lost. It would be a lost cause. And so,
by the way, let me just say, the Federalist Society had a meeting last week here in Nashville, the National School of Law, and I attended it. And it had been sort of dormant. They brought it back, a big crowd there, and the 2 speakers were Attorney General of Tennessee, Jonathan Skrmetti, and Tennessee Circuit Court Judge, Appeals Court Judge, and Professor of Constitutional Law, Jeffrey Usman. It was fabulous. And we're going to actually have the transcript of that up, that conversation later this week at the Tennessee Star.
So they're doing great work. One of the criticisms of the Federalist Society is that they're not doing enough, that they ought to be advocating specific positions, they ought to be filing friend of the court briefs in pending legal cases, etc. The problem with that is that because of the rules of judicial ethics, if you were advocating specific positions, judges could not be participants, maybe even people like Attorney General Skrmetti couldn't be involved. So they stayed neutral.
It's the wrong organization to do those sort of things.
But unfortunately, since it's the only organization, you have to take it as you find it. It's been tremendously successful. I used to go to these National Lawyer Conventions meetings every November in Washington, D.C. for many, many years. I stopped going only because they became so large that it was like meeting in an airplane hangar. They actually had their dinners in the Union Station main terminal. And
that's a pretty big place.
It's like watching a music concert, in a football stadium. You kind of lose the whole. But that shows how effective they are. Now, unfortunately, we have some disgruntled people on the right. And of course, the left kind of marches in lockstep. We don't. And that's one of the things that makes it more difficult for us to fight the left, is that we have to deal with these internal divisions. Some people, for a while, were afraid that originalism, which is the theory of constitutional interpretation first advanced by Robert Bork and then perfected by Antonin Scalia, that the Constitution should be interpreted in accordance with its original public meaning, not what we wish it meant, not what would advance our political agenda, but what did the words actually mean to the public that ratified them, at the time.
Right.
So they were saying, well, originalism isn't getting the job done, but it wasn't originalism's fault. It was the fact that we had these milquetoast appointees to the Supreme Court that weren't following originalism. Thanks to President Trump, now we have a solid 6-3 majority on most issues. Originalism is getting the job done, reversing Roe versus Wade, giving life to the Second Amendment. There's a whole list of
getting
issues.
rid of the deference to the regulatory agency's
Chevron,
interpretation
gone.
Of law. Yeah. And on that happy note, I'll end it on the end of Chevron deference. That's it. A big blow to the deep state. Thank you, Supreme Court and Donald Trump. Mark Pulliam, it's always a delight to have you here.
Thank you.
Monday's our highlight.
All right.
We'll be back with Tom Zawistowski and the affordability meme after this.
The Cats and Cosby Show.
It's the top news of the day.
John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby tackle today's biggest issues with a New York state of mind.
We are going to talk about dirty money.
This is a total failure of the media, the journalists, and the Democratic Party.
Treat yourself to a bite of the apple.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories.
Cats and Cosby, weekdays 5 Eastern, 4 Central on the stations of the John Fredericks Media Network.
And those are the big headlines of the day.
Let's be real. Losing weight isn't just about looking good. It's about taking back control of your overall health. 42% of adults in America are classified as obese, and obesity is directly linked to severe health issues. If you've tried diets and different workouts with no success, it's not your fault. Big Food and Big Pharma have rigged the system against you with contradicting information, leaving you confused. But there's good news. The Wellness Company just launched Drop, a GLP-1 peptide oral drop formula developed by their chief medical board, specifically designed to support your metabolism, curb cravings, and help you shed weight. That's right. No injections, no risk of the severe side effects we're seeing with the Ozempic. Start your weight loss journey today and get $100 off, plus free shipping. Go to twc.health/Godzilla and use promo code Godzilla100. That's twc.health/Godzilla. Promo code Godzilla100. Take action today for a healthier tomorrow.
John Fredericks loves his radio and TV audience, but did you know how to follow the Godzilla of Truth wherever you go? Download the John Fredericks Radio Show app to listen live nationwide. For the daily chit-chat, Trucking the Truth, download the Getter app and join the morning fun on Getter Live from 6 to 10 a.m. Follow John Fredericks on Getter, Truth Social, or Twitter at JF Radio Show.
This is WJFN Goochland, Bonaire, Chester, and WJFB Portsmouth, part of the John Fredericks Media Network.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. A key GOP senator has no objection to releasing video of a military strike that killed 2 survivors off the coast of Venezuela.
Senator Tom Cotton, who leads the Senate Intelligence Committee, says a video of the military strike on a suspected drug boat in the Caribbean shows nothing remarkable, and he would not oppose its public release. However, Congressman Jim Hines, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, said this video was profoundly shaking. Last week, President Trump said there would be no problem in releasing the video. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Paramount has gone hostile in its bid for Warner Brothers' Discovery, challenging Netflix. Here's correspondent Lisa Dwyer.
Netflix reached a $72 billion takeover deal with Warner Brothers Discovery just days ago.
Paramount says that it is going straight to Warner Brothers shareholders with a $30 per share in cash offer for the entirety of Warner Brothers Discovery, including its global network segment, asking shareholders to reject the deal with Netflix. Paramount argues that the Netflix deal faces too many regulatory hurdles and would stifle competition. President Donald Trump says that the deal struck by Netflix to buy Warner Brothers Discovery could be a problem because of the size of the combined market share. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
The Supreme Court hearing arguments today on whether presidents can remove members of independent agencies without cause. The case could overturn a 90-year precedent and give presidents sweeping control over regulators like the FTC and SEC. The president says he's disappointed that Ukraine's leader has not reviewed a U.S. peace plan aimed at ending the war with Russia. President Trump claims that Moscow is supporting the proposal and is urging Kiev to act quickly in hopes of ending the nearly 4-year-old war. More of these stories at townhall.com.
Hey, it's Mike Gallagher. The holidays are right around the corner, and you know what that means. Travel, gifts, family gatherings, and a whole lot of spending. Here's a way to get ahead of it all. Call my friends Mike and Brian and the team at Fellowship Home Loans. Rates have dropped again. That means you could refinance, lower your monthly payment, even skip your next 2 mortgage payments. That's right, 2 months with no mortgage payment. Put away the checkbook. Keep that money for the holidays. You won't be making any more payments till 2026. Maybe you're not looking to refinance, but you need access to cash. Well, Fellowship now offers their own HELOC and line of credit. Approval just takes a few minutes, and you can have funds in your account in as little as 4 days. Use it to pay off bills, finish a renovation, or simply get ready for the new year. Just go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/MikeG, fellowshiphomeloans.com/MikeG, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
Here's Rich Thomason with a midday Wall Street Business Report.
Federal Reserve policymakers meet at midweek. They face a big challenge of fighting inflation while not sending the economy into a tailspin, triggering a recession. It's widely believed there will be a quarter-point cut in the Fed's benchmark interest rate this week. Among the biggest stock movers pre-market, a trio of companies that are moving up to trade on the S&P 500, including Carvana, CRH, and Comfort Systems USA. Auto retailer Carvana climbed nearly 9%. Building materials company CRH jumped 7%. And construction contractor Comfort Systems USA rose 1.4%. Berkshire Hathaway lost less than 1% after the Warren Buffett-led conglomerate announced its investment manager and Geico CEO Todd Combs is leaving the company. I'm Rich Thomason.
You'll find breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. The torch relay for the Milan Cortina 2026 Winter Games has begun, leading up to the February 6 opening ceremony.
Olympic swimming champion Gregorio Peltrinieri carries the sleek torch around the track of the statue-lined Stadio dei Marmi to begin a nearly 7,500-mile trek that will wind its way through all 110 Italian provinces before reaching Milan's San Siro Stadium for the opening ceremony. It's a lot of emotions that gives us the right energy, says Milan Cortina CEO Andrea Vania, commenting on the launch of the relay. I'm Charles De La Desma.
Week 14's biggest NFL games did not disappoint. Aaron Rodgers played his best game of the season, and the Steelers held on for a victory in Baltimore to move one game ahead of the Ravens, and also to shut down the folks calling for Mike Tomlin's departure, at least for one more week. More on these stories can be found at townhall.com.
It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. We are indeed broadcasting live from our studios in Nashville, Tennessee. We are joined on our Zoom Newsmaker line right now by our very good friend, all-star panelist, founder of the We the People Convention in Ohio, early organizer of the Tea Party movement, Tom Zalistowski. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Michael. Thanks for having me on again today.
It's always fun to have you on, Tom. I wanted to talk to you about this meme that's out there. It sounds like, when Donald Trump won, for the second term. A lot of people kind of said, "Oh, this is great. You know, the end of the regime media has come, et cetera, et cetera." Except maybe not so much. And let me tell you what my thinking on that is. All of the old playbook of the left, that is to put out false stories, as they did in the Russian hoax back in 2016. And to put those false stories out, repeat them, and have them picked up by the regime media, and to have, all the Democrats saying all these false things. We thought maybe with the election of Donald Trump to his second term, non-consecutive, maybe that might have gone away. Oh, no. Every time I turn on ABC, CBS, NBC, that crowd, there's one word that I hear all the time. Affordability. Tom, there's an affordability crisis, they say. Now, if you look at the inflation numbers, they were very high under Joe Biden. They've come down significantly under Donald Trump, but not enough for all the Democrats and the regime media. All you hear is affordability. What say you, Tom Zalestowski?
Yeah, it's a psyop, right? I mean, this is really the saddest thing about our nation today, because in order to have the kind of freedom and liberty and prosperity that we all desire, you need to have truth. You need to have integrity. And now people just lie directly to your face, knowingly do it, and there's no consequence to that. And how do you and I and your listeners and our members at the We the People Convention, how do we filter this? How do you try to find the truth? And I think that's why people listen to your radio program. They're trying to get the truth. But the reality is the polling shows that no one's watching the news because they can't trust it. And this whole, it's affordability is just another Russia hoax, isn't it?
It seems like that to me. It's interesting, Tom, you mentioned that. If you watch all of the regime media over the weekend, the Sunday shows, the Face the Nation, This Week with ABC News, all of them, Meet the Depressed, right? It's always, they say nothing. It's just one word. It's just affordability. They're not looking at the actual inflation rate. They're not looking at things like gas prices being down significantly under.
Did you see the one in Colorado? The lady was under $2 in Colorado for gas.
Well, this morning here, I was listening to another morning radio show here in Nashville as I was coming in, and there is a gas station here out in Wilson County selling gas for $1.99 a gallon, at least today.
See, and that's the truth of the matter. And so things aren't great, Michael. You and I know. I mean, Nan and I could barely afford to go out to the restaurant and eat. It's crazy how expensive things are. But that's not Donald Trump's fault. That's the accumulation of the 9% interest from Biden's 2022, policies to the 5% inflation over all 4 years. And that's baked in. And so even though Donald Trump has gotten inflation down to like 2.8% or whatever it is, and it's still going down, that doesn't, reverse what happened with Biden. So it's a canard. It's a lie. And again, you'll notice that the left wants to complain about inflation, but boy, how many things have they proposed in the Congress about how to lower the cost of goods? How many ideas have you heard, Michael? The answer is zero. No ideas.
No.
They have no ideas. And that's what's good for us, is because people are looking for solutions, and at least Donald Trump is providing solutions. And he changed the tariffs for coffee and for some other household food items a couple weeks ago. So it's getting better, but don't listen to the chirp because it's nothing but a political game.
What's kind of hilarious is if you look at the Affordable Care Act, which was kind of snuck in by using really what were illegal legislative moves by Nancy Pelosi back in 2010. And when John Roberts was not fully informed by the originalist views of some of his colleagues, he at the last moment called, Obamacare, the act itself was a tax in one case and not a tax in another case. I never figured that out, right?
And we fought it. We knew then, Michael, you and I were on the ramparts screaming that this was bad in three ways. It was bad medicine, it was bad economically because it would raise the cost of healthcare, and it was bad for liberty and freedom because it was government healthcare, and if the government controls your healthcare, they control your life. And that's why we fought it, and that's why right now the Republicans have a really a time for choosing. They have got to dismantle this monstrosity and bring free market capitalism back into the medical system, because that's the only way we're going to get fair pricing again.
Yeah, it's interesting also if you look at it. So during COVID, they threw in all of these, extra subsidies to help bump up the Affordable Care Act. The subsidies actually go to the insurance companies, not to the individuals. And now the subsidy...
And the insurance companies donated money to all the Democrats.
Yeah, really.
Noticed.
Hello.
Yeah.
And it's
no connection there. No connection there.
It's a mess. And now politically, it looks like there is some movement among some Republicans to say, oh, yeah, let's just extend those for just 1 year. They're trying to frame this as, is it 1 year or 3 years? Well, it's a failed system. And yet, Tom, I think where the Republicans have not really led the way is they have not set forward a completely free market alternative to Obamacare. I think they need to do that, but they seem to be a little slow on the uptake. Your thought on that, Tom Zaltowski?
Yeah. And again, this has been our problem. You and I remember when we elected Donald Trump the first time, and the whole thing was repeal Obamacare. And Paul Ryan and John Boehner and Mitch McConnell and all those guys were like, oh, yeah, we want to repeal Obamacare. We've got the plan right here. They didn't have any plan at all because they never thought they'd have to do it. And now they're being caught again with they got no plan at all. I think this is going to have to come from President Trump's leadership team, where he's got the brain power to do something to lead the Congress, the Republicans in the Congress, to some sort of a solution. But kicking the can down the road, we did not vote for that. MAGA will not accept that. We need to just rein this in, and we're going to see what happens because it's coming really fast.
Tom,
Michael.
can you stick around because I want to take your temperature on the midterms. Every week we get closer to the midterms, and is it an existential moment for the country? I think it is.
Amen.
Back with Tom Zaltowski after this.
Hi folks, John Fredericks here for Freedom Alliance. Veterans are still struggling with the wounds of war. They came home with injuries that changed them forever. The flag-burning troublemakers in our streets remind me how fortunate we are to have patriots who served and fought, sacrificed, and never complained. We need to support them through organizations like the Freedom Alliance. It's Military Appreciation Month and time to support those who serve. Freedom Alliance is caring for combat veterans and military families. Combat veterans fought in the worst, most dangerous places on earth. Freedom Alliance takes them to nature's most most relaxing locations so they can heal. Freedom Alliance gives injured troops mortgage-free homes, new cars, and all-terrain wheelchairs. For wounded vets, there's nothing like the stability of your own home, the reinsurance of a reliable vehicle, or the independence of a wheelchair that navigates snow, ice, beach, pasture, or most any terrain. Let's fight for those who fought for us. Go to freedomalliance.org/Godzilla and make a monthly gift that will improve the life of a military hero. That's freedomalliance.org/Godzilla. Make a contribution today.
If you're like me, most moms find it difficult to prioritize self-care. Hi, it's Colleen, Program Director at the John Fredericks Media Network. With the demands of programming 13 radio stations, it's easy to forget about the things I should do for myself daily. And that's why I started with our company's Women's Challenge with Native Path Collagen Peptides. It's affordable and convenient care in just 1 scoop a day. There are so many incredible health benefits like bone and joint support, metabolism booster, and hair, skin, and nail improvement. I like to take a moment each day to prioritize myself and indulge in the health-boosting benefits of Native Path Collagen Peptides. I love mixing it up with all the different smoothie recipes, too. Learn more about Native Path Collagen Peptides and read 7 important reasons why you should be taking collagen peptides at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Prioritize your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today and get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
Target.com. Target.com is an online e-commerce tire retailer. We are here to serve the American public with the best possible customer service, the best pricing, and we make it extremely easy. We have many name brands and a lot of low-cost tires. The price is right, and it's easy. You go online to Target.com, Tireget.com, Target.com. You go there, you put your zip code in, all the inventory displays right in front of you. You can call in for help if you want to. We'll help you get the tire that you need. But we will take the tires you buy and at no extra charge deliver them to the dealer right by your house where they will be installed at the market price. It's easy. The best price, the best service. Great people to deal with. Thank you for going to Target.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. Our guest, Tom Zalestowski, the founder of the We the People Convention in Ohio. Tom, we are, I think, at yet another critical election coming up in November of 2026, the midterm elections. I think that the Senate right now is 57-43, right? 57 are, 53 rather, 47. 53R, 47D. And I don't think that's going to be at risk, it seems to me. But the House is now, what are we, 220, 214? I think that's what we are, with one that will come back as a D, so it'd be 220, 215. There's always, 1 or 2 vacancies. Somebody retires, somebody resigns. Oh, we've got Marjorie Taylor Greene who's going to be resigning. That's another. But it's a very close margin. Now, the Supreme Court has said, it's pretty clear, political gerrymandering is okay. Basically, that's what they're going to say. Racial gerrymandering is not. And we've started out with Texas redrawing the congressional maps to add 5 Republican districts in Texas. The Supreme Court has ruled, for 2026, that's okay. That's a win for the good guys. In California, they've said, oh no, we're gonna change it too, and it looks like they're gonna have 3 to 5 more Democrat seats there. In Massachusetts already, I think 40% of the population in Massachusetts voted for Donald Trump, and yet there are 0, count them 0, Republicans in the House there.
Yeah.
Now, here's a question for you. Are red state legislatures going to play the hardball they need? Because every blue state is going to go with political gerrymandering. But in Indiana, for instance, now the state Senate has passed a redistricting that would change that from a 7-2 Republican advantage to a 9-0 Republican advantage, which I'm all in favor of, because it's Smash Mouth. The state Senate's passed it. In the House, no, I think I've got that wrong. The House has passed it. The state Senate is the state Senate is the one that's kind of considering it. I got the houses mixed up, and I think there's something going on in Ohio. What's going on here? Will red state legislators play the Smash Mouth they need to?
Well, this has always been the problem, right? You and I, this is our biggest complaint. The Democrats, will just look you right in the eyes and stab you in the chest. The Republicans have been cowards for all these years the Tea Party has existed. I do think enough is going to be done. There's no doubt, Michael, that Supreme Court ruling last week about Texas was pivotal. If that did not happen, we would be in a whole different position. But basically now Texas is going to have that new map. We're going to see what happens in Indiana. Ohio wimped out. We were supposed to change at least 2 seats, and they've only redistricted. It's going to change 1, and I'm very disappointed in that. But I think you may have heard that Ron DeSantis is now talking about Florida redistricting to add 5 seats. If that happens, that's game, set, match type stuff. This is really important. The sad part for you and I and MAGA and Tea Party people and just patriotic Americans is this gerrymandering is just wrong on its face. But we have no choice because the Democrats, Marxists, got the power they got by beating the Republicans at this game 20 years ago. And they shouldn't even have anywhere near the seats they've got currently. Like you mentioned, Massachusetts and all of New England, where there's, all Democrat seats. So we're stuck in this game that we don't like. And I pray and hope that, okay, we'll do this and that'll allow us to keep President Trump from being impeached. But boy, someday I hope we can get rid of this because I don't think you should gerrymander for any reason.
Are you telling me that Indiana is going to beat Ohio in redistricting the same way the Indiana Hoosiers beat the Ohio State Buckeyes?
Oh,
I know.
Oh man, tough. Yeah, I'm afraid so. And so we better find our mojo and rebound here. And the Buckeyes got to win the national championship again. I still think they're favored to do that. I think we will. We sure didn't play our best game on Saturday night, but it was a great game. And congratulations to Indiana.
It was a great game. It was a great game. And, the kid, the quarterback for Indiana, what's his name? Fernando. I forget his last name.
Menendez. Right?
Menendez. Yeah. Was that? Anyway, he was great. He was fantastic. And
those are 2 really good teams and 2 really good defenses. But boy, this tournament's going to be something to see, Michael. With all the brackets, I mean, these are good teams, and every game's going to be, and most every game's going to be hard fought. I still was very impressed with Georgia in their win over Alabama. They look very good to me. So I think Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, one of those 3 is going to be the eventual champion.
The guy's name, I keep missing it up. It's Fernando Mendoza. It's very interesting. Did you watch the clip of him in the interview?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
wonderful. It's pure joy.
He was very happy, and his grandparents came from Cuba, and he's very much interested in supporting freedom and being a good teammate.
Yeah. How about when he got injured on the first play and his brother came in to replace him?
Yeah, that was something. Yeah.
So that's what I love. But football is America. Football represents the values of America. Toughness, mental and physical toughness, and that never quit type attitude and teamwork. And you can't do it by yourself. That's why football's the uniquely American game.
Well, yeah. And we've got a big game coming up here in November of 2026 for America. Now what's interesting about it, we'll get off on a tangent here a little bit about football. Our buddies at Notre Dame didn't make the college football playoff. I thought that was
I was shocked.
Yeah. They were 10-2, right? They lost the first 2 games of the season, They lost to Miami, which is in the playoffs, by 3 points.
Yeah.
First game.
Yeah.
Then they lost at A&M, which is also in, by 1 point. And James Madison is in, and they're not. And Tulane's in, and they're not. I mean, I guess that's how the rules are set up, but I don't know. With a name like Leahy,
very, very surprising. Very surprising. I thought when BYU lost that Notre Dame was in for sure, and so yeah, there's some reason to complain. But back to what you're saying about the big game for us in 2026, Michael. It's really comes down to, I think, one thing, and I think that we have to get the Trump supporters to turn out without him on the ballot. And we just saw it in Tennessee 7. Sure, he won, Van Epps won by 9%, I guess it was, and it's a 10% district, but Trump won by 20. And we've got a lot of House seats that were, plus 3 or 4 Democrat districts that we only won because Trump was on the ballot and people turned out. Next year, it really comes down to this, I think. You tell me what you think about this. I think the only TV ad that should run in every congressional district has to be, they're going to impeach Donald Trump if you allow them to win the House.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't happen, if we don't run those ads, that's the only ad that I think is going to get people in the Tennessee 7th to show up at the higher rate than what they just did a week ago. I think that ad is the only thing that's going to drive our voters out without Trump on the ticket, because we never want to see them do to Trump again what they already did to him.
There's one other angle, though, I think, back to the affordability meme that's out there. I saw a poll from Steve Cortez at League of American Workers, which said, 18 to 25-year-olds, right, there are some polls that said they're turning to socialism. He says, no, it's not really that. What it really is, the problem is that they've gone to these colleges and they've come out with degrees and they can't get a job. And so it's the American dream right now for them is heavy debt and bad jobs. And that's got to be, I think that's a very good point. Your thoughts on that, Tom?
I agree with that. I think there's two functions here. There's two things. One is the fear factor of Trump. If we lose the House, the whole thing is done. We're done as a country. We have to win. The second part of it is we've got to deliver on what we ran on in 2024. And that means the House and the Senate need to make law that President Trump put in executive orders. And to me, that means you've got to get rid of the filibuster, or you've got to find another way, John Thune, to not let the Democrats just stall you out. Because we have to make life more affordable for young people. And I don't like the idea of the $2,000 checks, for the tariffs refund. I think Art Laffer and Steve Moore have better ideas of making like a reduced income tax for working people and their paychecks to reward work, which would be a multiplier. But we got to get housing costs down, rental costs down. We got to get income up, and it's in the pipeline. In the tax returns that we're going to get, the tax refunds that we're going to get in the next 3 months, and these new jobs that are coming in. I think it's the perfect storm. I think Trump is on track to make the economic thing work, and then we got to get our people to show up without Trump on the ballot.
Tom Zalestowski with the We the People Convention in Ohio. Tom, thanks so much for joining us, and thanks for sharing your excellent insights.
Thank you, Michael. All the best to everyone, this week and for this holiday season.
You got it. We'll be back with more about the Somalian fraud after this.
EJ Haast here, founder of the Digital Footprint Management Agency and frequent guest on the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, here to tell you about GetFoundEverywhere.com. Customers are searching for your business everywhere: Google, Apple Maps, TikTok, and new AI platforms like ChatGPT and Gemini, which is a total disruptor. Traditional search engine optimization isn't dead, but it is on life support. Old tactics don't work anymore. So how can you make your business stand out? GetFoundEverywhere.com makes your business pop on over 50 search, map, review, and AI-driven platforms. With one easy dashboard, manage business profiles, social media accounts, direct messages, even texts and reviews. GetFoundEverywhere.com is affordable, boosts your visibility, and gets your business more customers. It's time to step up your game the easy way. Save time, save money, and get more customers with GetFoundEverywhere.com.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of Glockstore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported the Second Amendment rights of free men and women to protect themselves and their families with firearms. We offer the very best in both selection and prices on Glock handguns, custom Glocks, Glock magazines, and high-performance shooting accessories at Glockstore.com. We also have the finest retail showroom and our Shoot 270 shoot rooms right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Come visit us at Glockstore.com, and you'll be glad you did.
My fellow Americans, my good friends, I've known them for a long time, at D.T. McCall & Sons have the deal of a lifetime for you, and nobody knows deals like I do. That much I can tell you. Nobody knows deals like I do. The lumber yards, they can hit you with hidden charges for up to $200 extra. They'll charge you for cords and hoses and haul-offs. Your money goes all over the place and out of the state, and most importantly, out of your pockets. How do they get away with that? I don't know how they do that, but on day one, if you buy from McCall's, we are going to stop the hidden charges as soon as you buy it. D.T. McCall & Sons has locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, and they have been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years. Head to one of their stores today or check them out at dtmccalls.com. You're going to love it, believe me.
Impersonator not endorsed by Donald Trump.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Okay, so assimilation and the lack thereof of the past 2-3 decades, when we've had all of these immigrants, legal and illegal, many of them coming from countries that hate America, who don't want to assimilate. And that's created a huge problem. It's got to be stopped. It's got to be changed. And frankly, as a country, we cannot survive if 17% of our population is foreign-born, and a significant chunk of that 17% doesn't want America as a constitutional republic to continue. Case in point, of course, is Ilhan Omar, who entered the country under the refugee resettlement program under, well, what some say might be some very concerning circumstances, who allegedly, according to some, may have violated immigration laws with regards to a purported marriage to her purported brother, asterisk. She's got a very different view of America. And we'll hear her right now talk about that. Clip 4.
Of the 87 people charged, all but 8 are of Somali descent. And that has added to the spotlight being put specifically on your community. Why do you think this fraud was allowed to get so widespread?
Well, I want to say, this also has an impact on Somalis because we are also taxpayers in Minnesota. We also could have benefited from the program and the money that was stolen. And so it's been really frustrating for people to not acknowledge the fact that we're also, as Minnesotans, as taxpayers, really upset and angry about the fraud that has occurred.
Give me a break. Well, 90% of the 80 some odd people charged with fraud are Somalis. There's only 100,000 Somalis in Minnesota. Minnesota has a population, 7 million, 6 million, something like that. Okay, so the answer is we're the victims? I don't think so. I think it's not a bug. You know what they say? It's not a bug in the software. It's a feature. Yeah, it's a feature of a Somali culture. It's called Grift America. That is exactly what they are up to. All right, let's go and see some of the investigations going on. Here is clip 8, Dr. Oz talking about HHS investigating Somali fraud.
It's true. A Somali fraud ring in Minnesota stole over $1 billion from Medicaid. How did this happen? Well, Medicaid programs are run by the states, which in Minnesota means the Tim Walz administration. Governor Walz and the state's other Democrats rely on Somali votes to get elected, so they decided to look the other way because they were afraid of, quote-unquote, political backlash. Don't take my word for it. That's what a Somali-American fraud investigator told the New York Times. When these scammers realized that nobody was guarding the cash register, they went gangbusters. One program designed to provide housing stabilization assistance to patients ballooned to $104 million, when 4 years ago it was projected to cost only $2.6 million. Some of these taxpayer funds may have even ended up in the hands of a Somalian terrorist group. Scary stuff. When CMS became aware of the housing program situation, Minnesota insisted it could clean up its own mess. A few months ago, it admitted it could not. So we stepped in to shut down the fraud-infested housing initiative. Today, we're taking action on more than a dozen other programs, which I've outlined in the post below. Our message to Walz is clear. Either fix this in 60 days or start looking under your couch for spare change, because we are done footing the bill for your incompetence. This administration will never stop fighting to protect the vulnerable Americans who rely on these programs and the taxpayers who fund them. We're going to crush waste, fraud, and abuse.
Well, there you go. It's interesting how, when you look at it, you know, Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, said, oh, well, gosh, I didn't know about all this fraud. Yeah, he knew all about it. He did nothing about it. And that's the problem. Now, Scott Bessent is using Treasury to take a look at this. Let's take a look at clip 18. Scott Bessent, Secretary of Treasury.
The president told you, though, this week to look into Somalis who, quote, ripped off that state for billions of dollars. He said they contribute nothing. What exactly are you investigating?
Well, Margaret, to be clear, the initial fraud that was discovered by the IRS, for which I'm the acting commissioner, is discovered by IRS Criminal Investigations Unit. This was not an endogenous thing that the state of Minnesota decided we had to go in and clean up the mess for them, and this is part of the continued cleanup. A lot of money has been transferred from the individuals who committed this fraud, including those who donated to the governor, donated to Representative Omar, and donated to A.G. Ellison, but they've been transferred to something called MBSs. And those are
mortgage-backed security.
No,
what do you mean?
Sorry.
Transferred to what?
These are money the Bureau services, and they are wire transfer organizations that are outside the regulated banking system, and that money has gone overseas. And we are tracking that both to the Middle East and to Somalia to see what the uses of that have been.
Okay, but you have no evidence of that money being used to fuel terrorism at this point, which is what some conservative writers are alleging.
That's why it's an investigation. We started it last week. We'll see where it goes. But I can tell you that, you know, it's terrible. You know, Representative Omar tried to downplay it, said, oh, it was very, it was very tough to know how this money should be used. Yeah. You know, she was gaslighting the American people.
Well, we'll talk to her.
Yeah, but you know, when you come to this country, you got to learn which side of the road to drive on. You got to learn to stop at stop signs, and you got to learn not to defraud the American people.
Okay, so that's on Face the Nation, I think, with Margaret Brennan, whatever her name is. Notice how she's always interrupting the guy. I'm going to continue my messaging to my fellow Dow Prize winner, Barry Weiss, who now is running CBS News. I know it takes a while to turn around the Titanic, but you need to be doing that with CBS News because, we talked to you, we mentioned now what 60 Minutes had put the attorney who quit in a huff and basically violated attorney-client privilege at the Department of Justice, Erez Raveni, who was putting forward a bunch of phony information about the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case, 13 minutes on 60 Minutes. And, that's happened on Barry Weiss's watch, right? In addition to that, now we have the talking heads on Sunday still being the leftist talking heads as Margaret Brennan is. That's got to change. Having said that, we'll see if Barry, return the call because we could help you at CBS News. I know you got a lot on the plate, but it's still repeating, anti-Trump memes all over the place. Okay, let's back to the Somali refugee situation. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson had a few words to say about that. Let's play this clip right now, clip 12.
And the Democrats will continue to abuse it. They sued the USDA for simply asking them to tell them how many illegal aliens are on the programs in California, New York, and these other states. They sued them. You need to take account of what people are doing here in each party. The leaders and the President of the United States, we are trying to get government to work more efficiently and effectively for the people, and we are getting stopped and hindered by political games by Democrats. And that's why we're so frustrated.
Okay, well, we kind of got the wrong Johnson clip on that one. Meyer, not our intrepid producer here. We've got the Somali, the main guy running for governor. We've got this clip, who's talking more about the Somali fraud. Let's play this right now.
Mr. President, Bobby Charles here, and we've had a dialogue before, but I am here to tell you that we are grateful that you went into Minnesota with your team and you found these fraud rings and these fake nonprofits and these foreign influence operations run by the Somali community and what you, I think aptly, it's what has been called the Somalia First operation. And the irony is, here in the state of Maine, we are facing something similar. I'm here to tell you that our public reporting, never mind some of the early indications from federal inquiries, seems to be that we have a Somalia First operation here, Democrat funded, out there registering voters at the same time that they literally skim hundreds of thousands, maybe millions off our Maine Care system. As you may know, Maine Care is our version of Medicaid. It is a complete outrage because they are taking these monies from taxpayers in the state of Maine and they are using them to put Somali operators, these Somalia First operators, in our state government, both on the administrative side and on the local side, and actually in our legislature. So my appeal to you is you have done an extraordinary job in going after this Somalia First operation and network, including monies that are sent abroad by these people that seem to have a higher loyalty to Somalia than they do to the United States, and you've done it in Minnesota. I'm asking you, please, send the Treasury Department's investigators, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, the ICE investigators, and anybody that the federal government has at DOJ or Treasury here to Maine, and in particular go to Lewiston, and help us, and Augusta, and help us unearth this Somalia First operation here in the state that is guilty almost certainly of Maine Care fraud with fake nonprofits exactly the way they did it in Minnesota. Please audit every dollar. Please come in and flip this place upside down so that we can get after this fraud and get our state back. So many Mainers, and I mean literally hundreds of thousands, want our state back again. Unfortunately, this Somalia First network is as rife here as in Minnesota. So please, as you have taken extraordinary actions to try to bring public corruption under control and public integrity back in Minnesota, we are in a state right now which is also Democrat controlled and where there is a very strong Somalia First operation. Please help us beat it.
So this guy, Bobby Charles, is he's a pretty serious guy. A very strong background. He has a JD from Columbia Law School, undergrad from Dartmouth. So sharp guy. He served as he was over in Oxford for a couple of years. Got one of the typical philosophy, politics, and economics law degree. That means he had some sort of scholarship there, I think. And he served as Assistant Secretary of State for the U.S. State Department, Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement under the Bush administration. And he worked for Reagan. This guy's a very sharp guy. And what he knows what he's talking about. My point is that it's time to get serious about addressing widespread abuse and fraud by the Somali community. And the Somali community is primarily located, 100,000 people, the largest Somali community is located in Minneapolis, Minnesota. That's kind of the nexus of it. But they have a big Somali community in Columbus, Ohio. I think it's about 60,000. And my guess is if you start looking around Columbus, Ohio, you'll find a lot of this fraud as well. Hey, we'll have more when we get back. It'll be time for News Potpourri. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy. The website, TennesseeStar.com. We'll be back after this.
Tom Carmichael, CEO of Soul Tea, a supplement to help you have a healthier heart and stronger cardiovascular system. At Soul Tea, we regularly get emails from our customers telling us how Soul Tea has helped them. Like this one from Kelly. Hello, I'm 58 years old and have had high cholesterol for years. I wanted to stay away from prescription drugs. My husband and I have been using Soul Tea for about 13 months. My results have been amazing. My cholesterol levels went from 291 to 129. I am so impressed with Soul Tea and want to thank you. Now, in my own case, my bad cholesterol dropped from 130 to 89, and that was 20 years ago. I'm 75 years old and I take 0 prescription drugs. To get a great deal on Soul Tea, please go to GodzillaHeart.com, and when you check out, use the code Godzilla to get our best deal, which is 50% off your first shipment and then 3 bottles for the price of 2 thereafter. You don't have to live with a broken heart.
Do you suffer from
Try
declining
Soul Tea
bone and
today.
joint health? Hi, it's Tina with the John Fredericks Media Network. And when I heard about our company's Women's Challenge, I jumped on the opportunity to test this amazing supplement that's already restoring my bone density, soothing my joint pain, and helping me regain lost mobility. I've experienced so many benefits in such a short time with Native Path Collagen Peptides because they support my bones and joints, boost my metabolism, and unleash the most radiant skin and hair since my 20s. In just 2 weeks, my knee stiffness is gone, and I'm already hitting the gym more aggressively. And I get so many compliments on my glowy skin and shiny hair. Native Path Collagen Peptides are so easy to take. They're tasteless, odorless, and mix great with my morning coffee. Read thousands of 5-star reviews at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Level up your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today. And get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
In 2008, the amount of concentrated time people could spend on a task without becoming distracted was 12 seconds. 5 years later, it was only 8 seconds, 1 second less than a goldfish. If you're often distracted or have trouble recalling information, you're likely to fall behind in the demanding, fast-paced 21st century. In other words, brain performance is more critical now than ever. Boost your brain power with Healthy Cells Focus Plus Recall. Science-backed nootropics to help you sharpen focus, concentrate longer, enhance recall, improve mental speed, learn rapidly, and be more alert. It's a pill-free brain supplement made with maximum absorption ingestible gel technology, designed to feed your brain at the cellular level. Take it for a test drive. Go to HealthyCell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of Focus Plus Recall. That's HealthyCell.com, code GODZILLA for 20% off.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. We are indeed broadcasting live from our studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Well, it's that time of day again, folks. It's time for News Potpourri. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, News Potpourri. This is the portion of the program we talk about those stories that are of note, don't necessarily merit a full segment, and may have a touch of irony. Well, let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene, the publicity shy Marjorie Taylor Greene. She went on to 60 Minutes, and I'm going to play this clip, which is, kind of typical of how she approaches things. She said, 60 Minutes, come talk to me. And she's surprised and mortified that they're giving her a hard time. Here we go. This clip number 2, Marjorie Taylor Greene on 60 Minutes last night.
It's the most toxic political culture, and it's not helping the American people.
But you contributed to that. You were out there pounding, insulting people.
Leslie, you've contributed to it as well with your own program. Yes, you're accusatory, just like you did just then.
I know you're accusing me, but I'm smiling.
You're accusing me.
I am accusing you.
But we don't have to accuse one another.
I want you to respond to what you have done in terms of insulting people, yelling at people, and then saying...
I'd like for you to respond for that.
I don't...
No, you can respond to that.
I don't insult people.
You do in the way you question, and you're accusing me right now.
No, you're accusing me. No, you're accusing me. You're accusing me. You're accusing me. Oh, gosh. I'm not going to say... There are certain things I could say about that particular back and forth. But in the interview, this according to the Hill magazine, here are the key themes. Greene says Republicans in Congress make fun of Donald Trump behind his back. Greene says Republicans are terrified of Trump. Greene says Trump fueled death threats against her family. No, that's ridiculous. Greene says Trump's policies aren't America first. Well, that's also ridiculous. What are you, Marjorie Taylor Greene? What have you accomplished? No, you inherited a construction business, and you've gone out and you've basically pushed your own prominence. And now you're bailing out on your constituents in Georgia. Not a good look at all. Okay, speaking of not a good look, a former DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency official at the Obama administration, has been charged with a crime of helping the cartels out. Let's go to clip 20 and see that.
This is a Fox News alert. A high-ranking Obama DEA official was just indicted for trying to help the cartel.
Paul Campo conspired, allegedly, to launder up to $12 million in drug trafficking proceeds. Campo and an associate by the name of Robert Sensi are accused in the scheme of converting cash into cryptocurrency to buy 220 kilos of coke, worth about $5 million on the street, and then attempting to launder even more money, almost.
Okay, so let me emphasize that it's alleged, right? It's alleged. It's not for sure. It's not been proven, but it's alleged. It does kind of raise your, there's all these, stories about the crooked cop, et cetera, movies, et cetera. Yeah, might fit into that category, right? Hey, here's another one. The guys at CNN, they have decided is really bad news, and they were surprised that the alleged pipe bomber who was arrested by the FBI is a black guy and not a white guy. Here we go. Let's play that clip right now.
You should believe what he says. No, maybe he put a bomb at the DNC because he believed the Democrats stole the election because Republicans and conspiracy theorists pushed that, and he put the bomb at the RNC because the vice president who was about to be sworn in was going to ride by that area. There are many scenarios that the prosecution will have to play out this case. But I'm gonna say the thing out loud that I think everyone is not saying and is actually surprised, and why I think Janine Pirro is actually saying it. I think the fact that this man is a black man is surprising to people. I think people thought this was going to be a white man that did this. They were going to be able to say he was a part of the progressive left. And the fact that it's a black man that is saying, I too was susceptible to conspiracy theorists that the president and conservative podcasters were pushing that this election was stolen is a fact that they were not expecting.
Okay, She's saying there are reports that this guy said he was concerned about the election, but there's that's not been verified. That's how they're looking at it. It's kind of crazy, right? We'll see how that all plays out. Okay, here's a breaking story. I don't know did you see this? The Washington District of Columbia police chief, Pamela Smith, has resigned suddenly. Huh. That's just 2 years into her term there. Why is that? I don't know, but there's a story there, and we'll find out what that is. Here's another story that's kind of interesting. In the United Kingdom, all of our legal system is kind of based on the English system of law, where there were certain rights that people had and individual liberty and rights and due process. Well, guess what? There's a couple things going on there that are beyond troubling. First, in the past year, the Labor government has arrested, according to one report, 12,000 Britons. 12,000 Britons on speech issues. That would never happen in the United States because we have a First Amendment here, right? They are also, in the United Kingdom, they are ramping up lawfare against Nigel Farage. Why is that? Well, because he's a voice for freedom and liberty. That seems very, very weird to me. What else do we have going on? Oh, here's an interesting. Texas is now the 5th state to allow ivermectin to be sold, fifth, without a prescription. It's kind of interesting. The other news of note, there's a big battle brewing between Netflix and Skydance. What is it called? Skydance, the new Ellison company that owns Paramount. David Ellison, the son of Larry Ellison, the billionaire who owns Oracle. They're trying to build this entertainment company that includes Paramount, which now owns CBS News, where Barry Weiss is. Netflix wanted to buy Warner Brothers for $72 billion. And guess what? Now Ellison has launched a hostile bid to acquire Warner Brothers. We'll see how that plays out. I'm kind of rooting for, well, I don't know. Both are pretty big companies. I think I'd root against Netflix, but we'll see. Back with more tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Up next, Rob Carson. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy. The website, TennesseeStar.com. Thanks for joining us today.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Hey there, it's Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of GlockStore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported our Second Amendment rights with GlockStore.com, the world's #1 source for Glock handguns, parts, and accessories. I also support accurate, unbiased journalism like The Michael Patrick Leahy Show. His team broke the Kilmar Abrego Garcia traffic stop and was the first to obtain that video. Independent journalism at its finest. Visit us at GlockStore.com. Listen to Michael Patrick Leahy and make America great again.
FlatFeeNashville.com is a full-service real estate brokerage that charges homeowners a upfront flat fee of $999 to completely list, market, and sell your home. We are all about saving consumers money, saving that equity. Nobody should hire an agent and feel like when that agent walks in the door, that agent is more concerned about the down payment on their next Mercedes purchase versus saving the equity that those homeowners have worked hard for. I've spent my entire career in ensuring that the equity that people save and they put into their monthly mortgage every single month, as much of that as we possibly can goes back to them when they go to list and sell that home. The idea is to give homeowners the ability to really create generational wealth.
FlatFeeNashville.com, FlatFeeNashville.com.